What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
4WI, Chapter 67, The Villain Died of Talking Too Much. In the sky, the video projection of Calicus and Minister Zuo conspiring to persecute Prince Infinite Kasho was played continuously. Then there are various daily plots of various left ministers and Calicus. Why can't the missing girl be found? Why did Princess Blossom disappear? Who stole the stolen gold? False brother, a certain plot to the throne. Is this a loss of morality, or a distortion of human nature? It's a blockbuster ethical drama, yay. I have to say, this melon is really sweet. The hands of the Night King holding the crown trembled slightly. Beast. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the Knight Akoku, who was so stimulated, passed out. Calicus. A suppressed roar came from Zhang Yang's side. Waves of silver-white metal poured out overwhelmingly, covering houses and even tools placed on the ground. All assimilated in this raging wave of metal. Kasho, whose eyes were blood red, turned into a giant hundreds of meters high in an instant. The icy night spear in his hand shone dazzlingly in the sun. Adrift for several years, homeless like a savage. In order to survive, he even had to become a pirate. Abandoned his own will and ideals. Sleepless at night in pain, rolling over and over again. And all this is because of the conspiracy from his brother. Just to wrest the throne from him. The furious Kasho burst out an unstoppable power zone in his body. Like an emperor who rules over the sea, the submissive and awe-inspiring temperament, although weak, is supreme. One Setsuna, tens of thousands of angry citizens of the country of knights, passed out in pieces. Hockey at conquerors. Zhang Yang's pupils shrank slightly. Does Kasho have such qualifications? Swing. The cold knight's spear seems to be able to pierce the sky. The sharp tip of the spear pierced straight towards Calicus, who was standing in disbelief on the high platform. Uncle, help me. Under the threat of this shot, Calicus, who smelled the smell of death, instantly drenched the lotus seeds. Two lines of tears burst out directly. The heart-piercing shouts made those who heard it sad, and those who listened to tears. Clang. A blinding light pierced the sky. The world seemed to be divided by this sword. Kashu's spear was blocked by a slender knight sword. The knight sword covered with jet black armor calmly blocked Kasho's bombardment. The fierce air wave spread unscrupulously towards the surroundings. The high platform was scattered, and the unconscious Knight Akoku was rushed out. A figure flew out from the palace and caught the knight village who was about to fall to the ground. The chief knight of the kingdom, Bolt. She was wearing a slender white windbreaker, and the metal made of crystal on the chest reflected a bright luster in the sun. The knight's long sword in his hand changed from wide to narrow from the handshake. A head of golden shoulder-length hair, like gold, shining brightly under the sun. A pair of silver pupils, strangely in the shape of a cross, and Bolt with the stubble on his chin, looked at Kasho indifferently. That look was like looking at a dead person. Kasho's eyes were serious, and there was fear in his voice. The chief knight of the kingdom, a title that only the most powerful knight can inherit. As early as before he was expelled, he was already a strong man standing at the peak of the Night Kingdom. The real top-notch admiral-level combat power. This is a man who only sees surpassing himself and the sword. You've gone astray. Bolt spoke in a strange voice, as if reading a text, with almost no emotion. Hone your will, temper your body and sword skills to ultimate. True strength doesn't come from external objects. Abandon all emotions and concentrate on the ultimate swordsmanship, only then can you become a real strongman. Swish. The silver-blue slash easily cut off the iron giant's body. You used to be qualified to surpass me, but now you are already obsessed with foreign things. Hiss. Kashu's pupils shrank slightly. The Crusader's killing sword secret passed down by the royal family. You guy, how dare you practice this taboo sword skill? In the Kingdom of Knights, there are two supreme inheritances. One is from the beginning of the establishment of the Night Kingdom, a sacred object left by the first-generation Night King, and it is also one of the legendary 12 swords, the Holy Sword, the Sword of Victory and the Oath. One is a peculiar sword skill, cross sword. When the Kingdom of Knights was established, the island was originally occupied by a group of barbarians. Night King Arthur, who came by boat, led thousands of ancestors here. In order to survive, Night King Arthur and the original 12 knights formed the original Knights of the Round Table to protect his people from harm. No matter how gorgeous rhetoric is used to disguise, it can't cover up the blood and darkness when the country was first founded. As an outsider, King Arthur led his people to wage a decades-long war with the aborigines of this island. And the cross sword appeared at that time. After killing again and again, I summed up the simplest and quickest way to kill, forgetting my feelings and moral persistence, even abandoning my beliefs, and killing just for the sake of killing. The first 12 knights all learned this sword skill, and in the end all of them became weapons that only knew how to kill. They are the killers again and again, forgetting about themselves and their feelings, fighting only by instinct, and finally when the victory ushers in, they are the first few knights who survived. In bloody and brutal battles, they killed each other. Since then, this sword skill has become a taboo in the Night Kingdom. A powerful person can master any sword skill, and attribute unconscious sword skills to evil. This is nothing but the cry of the weak. Bolt swung his sword and slashed, peeling off the metal armor on Kasho's body with one blow. Just then, a roar sounded. Bolt, you dare to attack the royal family. The commander of the 12 knights. 0. Seeking flowers 00. Bolt glanced at the rushing man, a big, fierce man with explosive muscles and a gleaming crystal badge. This iconic thing can be seen at a glance. Clang. The long sword collided, and Bolt easily overwhelmed the opponent with his strength. We both belong to the Great Knights, but your strength is the weakest among us. Your strength is barely noticeable, but your reaction is too slow. Two criss-crossing slashes exploded on the chest of the visitor in an instant. Blood splattered. Captain of the 12 Round Table Knights, one of the 4 Great Knights of the Kingdom of Knights, quasi-admiral combat power. Lost in one move. The performance is good, but there is a lot of nonsense. A faint voice sounded from behind. Bolt's pupils suddenly narrowed. When? Can't feel it at all. Swish. The sharp slash flew backwards. Puff. Zhang Yang snuffed out the oncoming slash, and looked at Bolt with eyes like a brain dead. 0. With top admiral combat power, do you really think you are invincible? 1 against 2 is awesome. Are you pretending to be M with me? Do you think you are the strongest in the world after defeating 2 little salted fish who were related to Admiral? He also delivered his acceptance speech. Niobe, oh brother. Boom. The palm filled with gray-black dead breath is covered with a layer of black to deep armed color. The crimson arrogance burst out, and the fast-flowing blood in the body seeped out of the body surface. Bully body. 6 speed. Meteor burst. Double energy. Town country. Boom. The wide palm covered Bolt's face, and with that slightly distorted expression, he pressed it directly to the ground. Boom. There is a large pit of more than 10 meters under the ground depression, and dense cracks spread hundreds of meters outward along the center. Bolt, who was bleeding all over his face, was knocked unconscious by this slap. Too weak. Amidst the smoke and dust, Zhang Yang walked out with Bolt, who was still half-breathed. The color of knowledge diffuses perception, and instantly appears in front of a hiding guy. If I remember correctly, you should be Kaido's subordinate, one of the 3 disasters, drought. Zhang Yang looked at the cold sweat dripping on his face, with a bright smile on his face. Can you tell me, what are you doing here? Gudong. Drought swallowed a mouthful of saliva, with a frightened expression. Hell, why did the Black Emperor appear here? Who would not recognize this iconic face of Poros, as long as he is a pirate living in the sea? Just now, he killed a top admiral level powerhouse in an instant. The strongest in the world. It's not just talk. The last chapter is finally over _ 3 angle _ Kaido's 3 major disasters, Jack 28, which means that he was only 8 years old when he attacked Wano Kuni 20 years ago, is unlikely. It's not the per capita ant who can kill giants at the age of 5 or 6. Whitebeard wasn't so good when he was young. According to him, there should be another drought to write 0. Chapter 68. You are sending your father home. The second prince died and was beaten to death by the angry people. The king of knights who woke up from a coma instantly seemed to have aged several decades. If it was said that he could live for a few more days, now that he has encountered such a thing, he has already stepped half of his foot into the coffin. This is the benefit of having a son. If you give birth well, life is full of shortcuts. The king of knights lying on the bed, with a pale face and an abnormal blush, looked at Kasho standing in front of him, with a clear look of guilt in his eyes. Cashew, come back. The people of this country need you to lead, and the will of the kingdom needs you to inherit. You have always been my proudest son. Cashew looked down at the floor. After a long silence, he said in a low voice. Sorry, I can't. The king of knights had a surprised expression on his face. Why? Everything that happened before was a conspiracy. Now you are still the symbol of the Night Kingdom, which represents glory and courage. Are you going to ignore your most loyal citizens because of the past? Cashew shook his head. I have already pledged my allegiance to the Black Emperor, and I cannot continue to succeed the throne of the Night Kingdom. How can a person who is loyal to others be loyal to his own people? As that's so, the 017 expression on the Night King's face became slightly stiff. Zhang Yang has no idea about the tragic tragedy that will unfold between the father and son. Compared with the emotional ethics drama at the scene of a large-scale car accident of the Night King's family. He is even more curious now, why Kaido's men came to the Night Kingdom. Don't tell me, you came to the Kingdom of Knights just out of curiosity. Zhang Yang carelessly trimmed his nails, and Kaido's 3 disasters, drought, knelt on the ground like a primary school student. His body was trembling, and his whole body was soaked in cold sweat amidst the invisible oppressive aura. Facing this man, he didn't even have the thought of resisting. He originally thought that Kaido of the Beasts was the most powerful and terrifying man in the world. But after seeing this man, I found out. The so-called strength of Kaido of the Beasts is like a fragile piece of paper. The aura called absolute power emanating from the inside of his body made his cells tremble when he raised his hands and feet. The physique that has been honed through thousands of years has surpassed the ultimate that humans can achieve. The strongest man in the world. An invincible monster will only understand the meaning of this sentence when facing him in person. This man is a monster. Master Kaido asked me to come and check the situation of the Night Kingdom. Drought wiped the cold sweat off his face. He originally wanted to be defiant, to show that he would never betray Lord Kaido's tenacious will in a way that would rather die than surrender. Then he was beaten into a trick, and he half pushed and half spoken about Kaido's purpose. But looking at the current situation, the risk of doing so seems a bit high. Judging by the indifferent expression of this guy, if he really dared to come to the idea of preferring death to submission, he would probably be beaten to death in the next second. And the death was extremely miserable, the kind where the corpse throbbed. This restless way of dying is a bit inconsistent with the beauty in his heart. So I struggled for a while, and the drought decided to persuade myself first. Night Kingdom and Wano Kuni are directly eyeing the two countries. Kaido's appetite is really big. Drought kneeling on the ground instantly widened his eyes. He lowered his head and looked at the ground, not daring to speak, the cold sweat dripping down his face on the ground. How does this man know that Master Kaido is eyeing Wano Kuni? Could he see what was in his mind? A tingling thought came to mind. Zhang Yang had a panoramic view of the drought, which also confirmed the thought in his mind that Kaido of the Beasts was plotting against Wano Kuni. There were not many surprises in my heart. Because according to the timeline, the cooperation between Kaido and Wano Kuni's generals is within a year or two here. Uchiha reached the end of New World and became the new One Piece by New World. The Kazuki family of Wano Kuni, whose patriarch Odin is the lord of the Light family. He once followed Uchiha to the destination of New World, and knew the secrets buried there. Wano Kuni's general fears that the existence of the Kazuki clan threatens his rule over Wano Kuni, and Kaido just wants to get the secret that Odin knows. So the two hit it off and teamed up to destroy the Kazuki clan. So according to this statement, it is very likely that Kaido had a close connection with General Wano Kuni Orochi before the Kazuki clan was destroyed. It was only after the destruction of the Kazuki clan that a closer cooperation began. The Yu family is a family of masons who process stones for generations. It is an indestructible historical text that has been passed down in the world. In fact, it was created by the Kazuki family 800 years ago. However, with the death of Odin, this technology, which has been passed down for hundreds of years, has been completely forgotten in the years. Of course, Uchiha is still some time away from becoming the One Piece now. Kaido is probably just getting in touch with Wano Kuni, so I don't know if there is any cooperation. However, it can be seen from the expression of drought that most of them are already cooperating to some extent. Well, if Master Poros has nothing else to ask, can I go first? Drought asked cautiously. Everyone is an adult, can you stop being so naive? I told you that if you answer my question, I will let you go. Zhang Yang grinned, and a mass of pure life energy appeared in his hands. But after all, I'm a good talker, and I'm not a devil. If you eat it, you can leave. Looking at the ball of life energy in Zhang Yang's hand. Drought swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Although the trembling and eager cells in his body were urging him to eat this mass of energy quickly, it was definitely not a good thing to tell him directly. What good things will the Black Emperor's men give him? Do you really think the Black Emperor is a great philanthropist? That guy's Gaxi Island is the largest illegal trading place in the world. What are you thinking? Zhang Yang looked at the drought with a smile, his eyes narrowed slightly. You don't seem to have figured out what's going on, rich brother. Do you think I'm asking for your opinion? I just don't want to pry open your mouth and stuff this thing in your mouth. I really thought that if I refused, I wouldn't have to eat this thing. Just kidding, do you really think of me as a good person? If what I said just now caused you to have a very democratic misunderstanding, then I'm sorry. The corner of Drought's mouth twitched. Laozi also really believed in your evil. Carefully take the life energy, close your eyes, and put it in your mouth. Although I don't know what it is, but since you will die if you don't eat it, if you eat it, you can at least live for a while. As soon as the pure life energy touched the mouth, it turned into a strong life force and expanded to the whole body. This group of vitality can help you extend your lifespan for 20 years. But it can also instantly turn you into an unconscious dead person. The smile on Drought's face was slightly stiff. Nima, can you stop panting so much when you speak? So if you want to continue living, what should you do? You should know. There was a smile on Zhang Yang's face. He liked to see this kind of expression that wanted to hit him, but couldn't, but had to bear it. The corners of his eyes twitched, and Drought took a deep breath. The feeling of life and death made him very unhappy. But the question is, does it work? It doesn't. As for resistance, if he had the guts, he wouldn't have eaten this ball of life energy just now. So what do you want me to do for you? Be a nail beside Kaido, Daichang Jin. What the hell kind of title is this? Why don't you call me Rum? I'm upset, but I can't do anything about this guy. Watching the Drought leave, wondering if this guy will bring him any surprises next. Just as Zhang Yang was thinking, he suddenly saw Kasho with a troubled face walking over from a distance. Before Zhang Yang could say anything, Kasho knelt on the ground on one knee. My lord, please help my father to continue his life. What the hell, is there such a good thing? The corners of Zhang Yang's eyes widened uncontrollably. Although I have long known that you, a guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes, is very loyal. But send dad home, seriously. As his most trusted subordinate, Kasho naturally knew the side effects of people whose life energy was extended by him. Life and death are involuntarily reduced to puppets controlled by him. D. Zhang Yang patted Kasho's shoulder with a full face of emotion. Wipe away the tears that don't exist. I have already felt your loyalty, Kasho, you are indeed my most trusted subordinate. Moved is moved. The father who came to the door still has to accept it. Life and death are under his control, so the King of Knights is just a puppet in his hands who can be beaten and scolded. The Kingdom of Knights instantly became his possession. This kind of good thing that you can't find with a lantern, if you miss it once, there will be no next time. Of course, if he is 1.3 enough to be obedient. Zhang Yang didn't intend to interfere with the Night Kingdom either. All he wants is a group of fighters who can fight for him in critical moments. As for himself, He doesn't have the time and energy to manage a country. With this time and energy, he is enough to conquer several countries of the same size. What he asks, from beginning to end, is obedience rather than control. It's not your professional business, it's best not to intervene. This is Zhang Yang's request to himself. Why did he have to do it himself when there are obviously a group of smart and capable talents under him? Wouldn't it be nice to have this time to stay in the office and drink coffee and eat a pastry? Being the boss is to enjoy life, not to die from overwork. I don't know how Kaido convinced his father. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. Although it is somewhat incomprehensible, but thinking of a dying person, in order to survive, he becomes someone else's subordinate. It doesn't seem to be an incomprehensible thing. There may be people in this world who don't like money, but it's impossible for someone not to want to live longer. Especially the monarch of a country. An emperor like Qin Shi Huang has to look for the immortal pill in order to live forever. How great is the King of Knights? Can it be more powerful than Qin Shi Huang? Chapter 69. The worst battleship in history. The ancient weapon Pluton. The Night King's body was not infected with an incurable disease like Luojia's. His problem is more like a lot of chronic diseases left by his cultivation in his youth. This kind of dark wound is not serious, but with the passage of time, the age slowly increases. The hidden injury that I didn't care about at first became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Zhang Yang took a shot of a mass of life energy, and Night King Debai's fever turned black, and his thin, dry, wrinkled face filled up. Ruddy and full of luster. In an instant, he changed from an old man on the verge of death to a man in his prime. Looking at the Night King who was still half dead just now, he got up from the bed and walked down. The head guard widened his eyes. This Nima. The steady and powerful steps even gave him the illusion of seeing the King of Knights when he was young. This shit is simply bizarre and unreasonable. As long as there is no violation of chivalry morality, the Kingdom of Knights will become the most loyal sword in the hands of the Black Emperor. The expression on the Night King's face was serious. Slowly half kneeling on the ground, put his hands on his chest, and offered his allegiance. This trip to the Kingdom of Knights has yielded a lot. Subduing the Night King and gaining the allegiance of the Night King can be said to be equivalent to controlling the entire Night Kingdom. If you want to replace the world government, it is useless to rely on strength alone. With the power of one person alone, the world government can be defeated. Even boarded the Holy Land Mariajoy, stomped on the 5 elders, punched the dog I am, and treated those celestial dragons like pigs. What's the use? 07 Can he control the whole world? Can he restore the allegiance of those kingdoms to him? He will only get a divided, chaotic world. Then he will spend more time to regain these countries. Don't think that after defeating the world government, these countries will recognize his status as joining the world government. There is a fundamental difference between the two. World government is only a nominal organization. It unites the scattered organizations of various countries and represents the overall interests of each country. It is more like a union to say that it is a unity. Although each country nominally belongs to the world government, each country has its own independent right. What Zhang Yang wants to do is just the opposite. He wants to gather all the forces together, but he is not prepared to let these countries have independent administrative power. In other words, he will abolish the rights of the royal families of these countries step by step. One is enough for the king of this world. And this approach will undoubtedly touch the bottom line in the hearts of those princes and nobles. Nobody wants to lose their power and status. From the makers of rights to lower-level power executors, some people will even become civilians enslaved by rights. How could this be accepted by those princes and nobles who are used to reckless behavior? After being a master, who would like to be someone else's lackey? So these people will inevitably resist, who knows that they will inevitably fail and will never compromise. The knife is on the neck, it is dead anyway, why fight it? So he needs a lot of power loyal to him, after solving the world government, suppress other countries at the same time. What he needs is not a chaotic world. It is a civilized country completely ruled by him. Alabasta. In the shadows under the cloak, a rebellious face loomed. With a scar on the corner of his eye, Lok raised his mouth slightly. Looking at the bustling and lively city in front of him. Let's start here. Extend your eyes to all parts of the world and become the all-seeing eye that permeates the entire world. Lord Black Emperor, I will not let you down. Moreover, according to the information he inquired about, the ancient weapon Pluton, which is said to be able to destroy an island with a single shot, seems to be hidden in this country. Even if it is not here, at least there will be relevant information. If you can find him, you must be very happy. There was a gleam of ambition in K-Lock's eyes. Since I want to serve that adult, then he must become the best subordinate. This is the dignity of his kettle, even if he becomes someone else's lackey, he must be the biggest and most loyal one. The ancient weapon Pluton. Zhang Yang rubbed his chin, he was not surprised that Clock Doll could find the clue of Pluton. But Zhang Yang is not very interested in the historical steles of ancient Pluton hidden in Alabasta. A ship that has existed for hundreds of years. After such a long time of baptism, how much power can be left remains to be discussed. Of course, if K-Lock Dar can follow the clues to find this ancient weapon. It was also an unexpected surprise for Zhang Yang. But this kind of thing is not worth going to himself. Compared with this antique ship, he is more interested in the blueprint of Pluton in the hands of Tom, the capital of Northern Water. Known as the worst warship in history, it can destroy an island with a single round of ammunition. His blueprints must contain technological crystallization beyond the civilization of this world. If you give it to Vegapunk to study, maybe you can find something useful. For example, transplanting this powerful weapon into the transformed person. If he can have a cyborg army with more than 10 people equipped with a cannon that can blow up an island, what is the world government to him? Boo boo boo. Hey, this is the G8 Fortress, Admiral Black Owl. The next one is you. An indifferent voice came from the phone. Beep beep. Looking at the hung-up phone, Zhang Yang's face was full of doubts. What the hell, is he next? Just as this thought flashed through my mind, the phone rang again. Black Owl. Garp's familiar face emerged from the phone bug. Vice Admiral Garp, aren't you hunting Luia? What do you want from me? Looking at Garp with a solemn face, Zhang Yang felt a little strange. Has Luia reached the finish line by now? Something went wrong. Marshal Kungu was attacked by the Red Earl on his way to the Holy Land Mariajoy to meet the 5 elders. I was one step too late. Baloric Redfield is crazy now. He's going around attacking Marine right now, be careful. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Yang had a strange expression. Unprovoked attack on Naval Headquarters Marshal, is the Red Earl crazy? Although this guy is not very normal. Does this guy want to challenge all the strong like Bullet, and then become the strongest? No matter what, to be able to defeat Marshal Kong, this kind of strength should not be underestimated. It is indeed a legendary pirate who can be as famous as Whitebeard Luia with only one person. He is already so powerful before he gets the vampire fruit. If you let him become a fruit-capable person, it won't be a minute to go to heaven. To be able to defeat Kongu head-on, I guess it's not the peak of Admiral, it should be almost the same as the next target me. But it was just right to come. Zhang Yang yawned, his fruit ability development degree has reached more than 3 times. In other words, he can now create a clone again. The body of the Red Earl is a good choice for him. But why did Marshal Sora go to meet the 5 elders? If it's anything ordinary, phone bugs will suffice. For him to face the 5 elders so solemnly, it can only show one thing: this matter is very serious. It was so serious that he had to have a personal interview with 5 elders before he could make a decision. As for what this thing is, without key information, it is impossible to guess. 477 is just inferring the timeline, things related to Marine that can affect the world's situation. The only thing that seems to be able to affect the world's situation is the establishment of Shichibukai. When Locke was around 20 years old, he was invited by Marine to be a member of the Shichibukai. In other words, before Luia became One Piece, the Shichibukai system already existed. If you calculate the time, it should be about the same now. But now Marshal Kong was seriously injured after being defeated by the Red Earl, and is being treated in the hospital at Naval Headquarters. In the short term, matters concerning Shichibukai should not start. Forget it, it has nothing to do with me anyway. The establishment of Shichibukai will not affect the status of Gaxi Island. At most, it is just to let the forces on the sea restrain each other, as for wanting a group of pirates to help them work hard. That Marshal Kong was simply thinking too much. Shichibukai's city is at best acting as a lubricant between the pirates and the Marine faction. As for the actual effect, it seems to be of no use. How could a group of pirates help Marine sincerely? Moreover, it is impossible for Marine to truly believe in the pirates. After all, the natural opposition in the lineup is destined to be enemies between the two sides. To Marine, Shichibukai is just a chess piece that can be discarded when it is used up. Marshal Kong was defeated head-on by the Red Earl, this kind of thing can't be kept secret. From the second day onwards, there was already an uproar. As for the Red Earl who almost lost his combat effectiveness after defeating Marshal Kong, not many people cared about this matter. What most people see as the result, they only know that the Marshal of Naval Headquarters was defeated by a pirate. As for other things, do they matter? Marine has no way to refute this, after all, defeat is a fact. Even Marshal Kong couldn't say with a shy face that he was not defeated. Unless it is really shameless. The originally peaceful world seemed to be showing signs of another wave. Chapter 70: The Strongest Genetic Modification Project. The sea breeze blows on the face, the warm sun shines on the face, and there is a hint of sea smell in the sea breeze. This is the first time for Zhang Yang to visit the capital of 7 Waters. But he had already heard about the reputation here. The original name of the capital of 7 Waters is not this. A long time ago, the capital of 7 Waters was also an island. But with the development of time, the seawater rose, more precisely, it should be the sinking of the foundation. The city gradually became a city that existed in the sea. This is also the origin of this water capital, which gathers the world's top shipbuilders and is known as the Holy Land of Shipbuilders. 800 years ago, the Pluton battleship, an ancient weapon that makes the world government salivate at all costs. It was on this island that it was created by a group of shipbuilders. And the purpose of Zhang Yang coming here this time is naturally also for the blueprint of the ancient weapon Pluton. Pluton's drawings. Zhang Yang whispered to himself. This blueprint of the Pluton warship, coveted by the world government, is now in the hands of a merman shipbuilder named Tom. This well-known fish man-made shipbuilder is also the builder of the future One Piece Luia's ship. Now Tom has not been arrested by the world government for building a boat for Luia. Zhang Yang found the shipbuilding factory of this legendary shipbuilder just by asking around casually. In the huge factory, Tom Zhang and a group of apprentices build a small fishing boat. Mr. Tom, someone is looking for you. Tom, who was teaching apprentices to build ships, was taken aback for a moment. Is it a guest? I don't know, he just said he has something to do with you. The apprentice who was asked shook his head. You continue to build the ship, I'll go out first. Tom shook his head and didn't know which friend came to him for a while. As a famous shipbuilder at sea, he has built top ships for countless people. Among these people are pirates, and there are also forces working for the world government. There are so many possibilities. After instructing the apprentices to continue the next course, Tom packed up and went to the drawing room. Pushing open the door, leaning on a chair by the window, a man in a suit leaned against the back of the chair, looking at the scenery outside the window, with his back turned to him. Tom frowned slightly. After searching the memory in my mind, I couldn't find any appearance that could match this man. It is impossible to forget that unique aura just by taking a look at it. He had absolutely never seen this man. My guest, I don't know what you want from me. Tom asked suspiciously. I want you to help me build a ship, a special ship. Shipbuilding. If you don't mind the customer, it may take some time. Recently, there are too many orders in the factory, and our manpower is not enough. As for the quality issue, you can rest assured. Tom speaks a thick tone, his tone is quite heroic, and he is very confident in his skills. Time doesn't matter, I just want to know if you can make it. Quote. With his back to Tom's chair, he slowly turned over speed. It was a man in a black suit with short hair, giving off an indescribably oppressive feeling. Every cell in Tom's body was trembling, as if he met a sea king's when he was a child and was about to be swallowed. The indistinct majesty revealed made Tom's heart tremble. This man was definitely not an ordinary person. Why does it always feel a little familiar? Seems like I've seen it somewhere. I don't know what kind of boat you want to build, a small fishing boat or a large cargo ship. In terms of materials, do you want us to prepare for you or prepare by yourself? Tom lifted his spirits and asked cautiously. I want you to help me build a battleship. Battleship. A bad feeling rose in Tom, and he became suddenly wary. What kind of battleship? Don't you already know, Master Tom? Zhang Yang clasped his hands together, leaned on the armrest of the chair, propped his chin, and watched the changing expression on Tom's face with interest. Ancient weapon. Pluton battleship. I do not know what you're talking about. Tom's face grew cold. If you're just here to tease me, you can leave now. I don't know what ancient weapon Pluton is, and I won't help you build a ship. You are not welcome here. Zhang Yang shook his head. Don't cry if you don't see the coffin. If you don't give it to me, then I'll get it myself. Universal pull. A terrifying power erupted, instantly attracting Tom's huge body. Memory fruit launched. Memory read. Tom's eyes became dull, and sections of memory flashed before his eyes like film. So, it's hidden here. Zhang Yang's eyes flashed, and he appeared in an office with Tom in his hand. This is Tom's studio, where he creates his drawings. Zhang Yang looked at a painting hanging on the wall. With a wave of his hand, the painting on the wall flew out instantly. A metal safe was exposed. There are a total of 6 rows of numbers on the safe, and they will only be opened after they are fully calibrated. The palm stretched out, and the metal on the safe opened to both sides without a sound. A rolled-up blueprint appeared in front of my eyes. The blueprints full of time and antiquity look quite complete under careful protection. Zhang Yang's eyes flashed, and he put away the drawings. Just forget about it. Glancing at Tom with dull eyes, he stretched out his hand and programmed his memory. Send Tom back to the reception room, and Zhang Yang who got the blueprint disappeared directly. All unknowingly. Inside the lab, Vegapunk is conferring with Vince Moke Judge and Guy Saw. Although the clone's body has been genetically engineered to incorporate Murloc genes, the effect doesn't seem to be very satisfactory. The Murlocs have 10 times the basic quality of humans, but the genetically modified Murlocs that were copied only inherited about 1/3 of the power. And the fusion between different genes will greatly reduce the lifespan of replicants. This is a matter of tolerance. Murlocs live under tens of thousands of meters of deep sea, and their body muscle density is naturally much higher than that of humans. The same genes, grafted into humans, can only burst out less than half of their potential. Looking at the data in hand, Vegapunk came up with a bold idea. What if the important organs in the body are replaced with more durable machines? Mechanical. Vince Moke Judge froze for a moment, rubbing his chin in thought. If the body and the machine can be perfectly integrated, it may be a good idea, but, is it possible? Although he is not willing to be loyal to the Black Emperor, the form is different now. If he wanted to survive, he could only serve the Black Emperor wholeheartedly. So Vince Moke Judge didn't dare to deal with this kind of thing. 4+ Punk is not a fool. Guy Sarah, what do you think? Vegapunk looked at Guy who was on the sidelines. Why can't we directly use the Murloc's body for experiments? Guy said with a face full of displeasure. Backquote. Since the Murloc's physical endurance is stronger than that of humans, then we can directly copy the fisherman's genes and cultivate the clones. Vince Moke Judge gave him a look like a fool. If you're not this professional, don't interrupt me, okay? The Murloc's body is impacted by the pressure under the tens of thousands of meters of deep sea, and the density will surpass that of ordinary people. Just relying on the Murloc's genes to quickly clone the replica, the effect will not be very good, and their bodies are not adapted to the high-intensity modifications that humans can. Vegapunk pushed his glasses. The human gene is currently the most compatible gene in the world. Although the lower limit is very low, the amount of modification it can withstand is more than double that of ordinary Murlocs. If the Murloc gene is used as the subject of the experiment, the results may appear soon in the early stage, but in the later stage. Vegapunk shook his head. Their purpose is not to mass-produce low-end combat power. What Zhang Yang asked of them was, create a cyborg capable of countering Marine's high-end combat power. How about your jauntization experiments, and artificial devil fruit research? The jauntization experiment, with the cooperation of Dory and Raji, is progressing very well, but the artificial devil fruit has encountered a little difficulty in the research. Guy's expression was slightly displeased. Obviously, he didn't want to embarrass himself in front of Vegapunk. I extracted some special factors from devil fruit. These special factors will divide like human cells, Lihao, after being cultivated, and after being injected into the human body, they can gain the same power as devil fruit. But the flaw is obvious. Only Zone's devil fruit can breed devil factors in a special way. As for Paramesha and Logia, all the cultivation results have failed, and these artificial devil factors can't grow like normal devil fruit. Fully transformed, awakened, and terrified of the sea. In short, although it is considered a success. But the flaw is much bigger than imagined. I have an idea. Since the Murloc's gene can't meet our desired requirements, why not change to a more powerful species and integrate the gene into the modified human body? Sea kings or other more outstanding creatures, such as giants, Bigmom, Kaido, use. Vegapunk frowned, disapproving of Vince Moke's idea. The mermaid's gene is the most adaptable to humans. If it is replaced with the gene of another creature, it is very likely that there will be a conflict between the gene of the experimental subject and the species. Before the fusion is completed, the gene will collapse and die directly. Then, what if there is enough vitality to maintain the stability of biological genes? Guy frowned and licked his lips. Vegapunk froze for a moment, and slowly loosened his frown. You mean, Lord Poros, if there is enough vitality to maintain the stability of the genetic structure, it seems very feasible. Chapter 71 The Red Earl Strikes. A genetic sample of a powerful creature. Just after returning to the G8 fortress, Zhang Yang received a summons from Poros. Life energy combined with the genes of a powerful species, what are these guys trying to do? Is this going to make him a Godzilla? Although I was a little speechless in my heart, since this outrageous thing can be brought up, it shows that Vegapunk and the others have a certain degree of certainty. A strong species gene doesn't matter. What gave Zhang Yang a headache was vitality. Poros, fruit ability, able to absorb the power of death from the dead. Among them, the energy provided by human beings after death is the most vigorous. Although the size of human beings is far less than that of sea kings. But the power of death is not the bigger the better. The death energies separated from dead humans are very pure, while the energies raised from the bodies of sea kings are very messy. If those useless impurities are removed, the remaining energy is at best comparable to a few people. But hunting sea kings is infinitely more difficult than killing a few people. I hope these guys will give me a little leisure. Zhang Yang rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Poros is the most important force under him. If these guys consume all of Poros' death power, that would be troublesome. Suddenly unable to use the big move during the battle, isn't that cheating? As for the gene samples of powerful creatures, there are very few powerful creatures in his eyes. Kaido is one of them. Kaido, who is a Phantom Beast Dragon Fruit ability user, is definitely one of the most powerful creatures in the world after his transformation. The second is Bigmom, a hero who can defeat a family of giants in one blow at the age of 5 or 6. This woman's physique is simply outrageous. Even if the hero of the giant family has declined in strength due to age, at least 890 must have a quasi-admiral level. She could be killed when she was 5 or 6 years old, so it's no wonder that she was called an evil god by the giants. As for the last one, Zhao's elephant owner, Zhang Yang still doesn't know the origin of this thing. With a height of several thousand meters and a body length calculated in kilometers, his body is higher than the clouds, and he carries a huge and prosperous country on his back. This ancient giant elephant that has survived thousands of years ago, what level of combat power has it reached? Zhang Yang didn't know, probably at least at the super general level. A huge sea area, like a pond under his feet, can only submerge his feet. Compared with it, Kaido and Bigmom, the strongest creatures in the world, are scumbags. With a flick of his nose, the admiral-level Jack the Drow almost went cold. Who can stand it if one foot steps on it? Kaido needs to rest too. In addition, such as super giant sea kings, and the Devil Oz, all meet the standard of powerful creatures. None of these things are easy to handle. However, the current experiment has just begun, and biological gene samples of this level are not used. It's enough to catch a few sea kings. When the experiment yields results, it's not too late for him to go to Kaido or Bigmom to get some genetic samples. Zhang Yang teleported back and handed over the blueprint of the Pluton battleship to Vegapunk for research. He has no feeling for the Pluton battleship. But he is still very interested in the kind of weapon that can destroy an island with one shot. It would be best to work out a way to shrink the Pluton gun. Even if Vegapunk can't research the miniaturization of the Pluton naval gun, wouldn't it be a pleasure to put dozens of them on Gaxi Island? As a mobile AHFB, flying fortress, Gaxi Island is a giant battleship to him. Fight wherever you fly. Did you meet Poros in the Night Kingdom? The suppressed voice echoed in the cave. The huge figure of Kaido looks down on the drought like a hill. On the rough face, a pair of copper bell eyes stared at the drought expressionlessly. Drought trembled all over. Only those who know Kaido best will know how angry Kaido is now. Boom. A huge mace fell from the sky. Drought's body flew out like a rag sack. So you just came back like this. Trash. 2 puffs of white smoke came out from Kaido's nose. This incident cannot be blamed on the drought. The power of Poros is not still able to resist. King, who was covered in flames, said calmly. I know, but it just feels very uncomfortable. Kaido gulped down a jug of wine. He knows the strength of Poros better than anyone else, and he can resist 2 top admiral level powerhouses at the same time, and even gain the upper hand. If he fights Poros, the odds of winning are no more than 5 floors. If he used that strange form, he would definitely be no match. Able to injure top admiral level Sengoku in one hit and push back top admiral level Zephyr. This kind of strength is simply shocking. Droughts will back off, that's to be expected. This timid guy, if he had the courage to confront Poros face to face, he could come back alive. The first of the 3 disasters will not be fire. I originally planned to occupy the Kingdom of Knights and Wano Kuni, and use their power to develop power. Now it seems that I can only temporarily abandon the Kingdom of Knights. Kaido had already made a deal with the second prince of the Night Kingdom, Calicus, a long time ago. This time, sending the drought to the past, I just want to take advantage of the opportunity of the second prince's ascension to continue to deepen the way of cooperation. It's all gone now. He would definitely not dare to start a war with the Black Emperor. The current Black Emperor is recognized as the strongest force in the sea besides the world government. With only these few people under his command, if he wants to fight against the Black Emperor, he has no chance of winning at all. Unless he joins forces with Whitebeard and his old friend Bigmom, maybe he can take Gaxi Island. But that crazy woman who only has food in her eyes is impossible to cooperate with him. As for Whitebeard, that useless, unprogressive guy, unless he can threaten his family, it is almost impossible for him to take the initiative to start a war against others. Is there any new news from Kurozumi Orochi? He agreed to cooperate further, but as a price, we need to help him suppress those rebel forces in Wano Kuni. Kaido sneered. Thinking to use my power to deal with others, this trash who only has eyes for women, is thinking very well. Promise him first, the more I eat now, the more I will let him spit it out for me in the future. Sooner or later, I will make Wano Kuni completely my territory. I'll let that trash of drought handle this matter. G8 Fortress. On the boat, Ji Yu Ying stood alone. She was dressed in a purple tuxedo, her wine-red hair was tied into 2 long braids, and fell on her chest. The man in the scarlet cloak looked forward with his hands on his cane. A huge base fortress is looming. Gently sniffing the blue rose on his chest, a sarcastic smile was formed on the corner of his mouth, his elegant and luxurious temperament instantly turned into indescribable arrogance. Know that I'm coming and welcome me openly. Marine, you are as arrogant as ever. Beloric Redfield, the man known as the Lonely Red. With his own strength, he can be compared with Luia, Golden Lion, and Whitebeard, the 3 top pirates. One Piece's path does not require redundant companions like burdens. Beat Marine, beat Luia, beat Whitebeard, beat Black Self. There was a gleam of ambition in Ryder's eyes. I, who defeated everything, is the real One Piece. Companion. This kind of thing is absolutely unnecessary. He can reach the top by himself. The thin pirate ship slowly moved towards the marine base ahead. The boat in front. Stop, this is the G8 Fortress, show your identity. Identity. The corners of Ryder's mouth curled up slightly, and he swung the sword in his hand casually. Boom. The bloody slash was like a 100-meter-long crescent moon, slashing forward. The warship split from it and fell to both sides. There was a shrill cry from the marine on the boat, and it fell into the sea like a dumpling. A weak person like you deserves to question me. The weak deserve to kneel before the strong. The weak do not deserve to know his name, and only the same strong can exist in his eyes. A sword cut open the warship in front of him, and the boat continued to move forward. Ryder never looked at the sides from the beginning to the end. These people are not even qualified for him to remember. Inside the marine base on the coast, shrill sirens sounded. Someone invaded. Suspected to be a pirate. Attack. Boom boom boom. A deafening muffled shelling came from the base. The cannonballs that filled the sky made a sharp sound of tearing the air, covering the sky and the sun. Bad show. The death throes of the weak. Ryder's eyes were sarcastic, haughty and conceited. Swish swish swish. The bloody slashing attacks that filled the sky wove into a huge net, smashing all the shells. Crash. The shell scraped the warship and fell into the sea, and the splash of water fell on Ryder's clothes. Patting the collar lightly, Ryder's eyes froze slightly. I'm tired of being entangled with you ants. Boom. The crutch in his hand was lifted slightly and went down. Swish. 1,000-meter-long slash swept out. In the pair of terrified eyes on the fortress, they approached quickly. Such audacity on my turf. Ryder, you don't seem to think much of me. A faint voice came from inside the fortress. Click, click. Crystal-like translucent ice crystals rose from the ground. A 10-meter-high ice wall enveloped the entire perimeter of the fortress. Boom. Slash and blast, leaving a cut mark on the ice crystal that spread for a kilometer. The crumbling ice wall collapsed from it, and ice crystals splashed everywhere. Admiral of Headquarters, Black Owl. Ryder's eyes narrowed, and a smile bloomed on the corner of his mouth. You finally came out. Chapter 72. The legend ends. It's like I'm avoiding you. Zhang Yang yawned and was soundly asleep when he was woken up by the cannon and the sword. He's really upset right now. If it wasn't for the big gift package delivered to his door, he would have lost his temper. Marshal Sora, Admiral Black Owl, Sangoku, Vice Admiral Garp. You are the strongest in Marine, defeating you is equivalent to defeating Marine. Then there are Uchiha, Whitebeard, Kaido, the Black Emperor. Ryder raised the stick sword in his hand and pointed to where Zhang Yang was, with a gradually arrogant smile on his face. I don't need to reach the end of the new world. After defeating everyone, I will become the new king of the sea. Zhang Yang's expression was wrinkled. Although there was nothing wrong with his words, there was one thing, he still cared a lot. By the way, why did you challenge me first instead of Sangoku and Vice Admiral Garp? First Marshal Sora, then him, and finally Admiral Sangoku and Vice Admiral Garp. This sorting method from low to high, why does he feel like he has been discriminated against? Is he not as powerful as Sangoku? As the strongest combat power of naval headquarters, of course we have to savor it until the end. Ryder's natural expression made Zhang Yang's forehead twitch. Whether it's the tone of the voice or the meaning in the words, it really makes people feel uncomfortable. Why should labor and management be weaker than Garp? Fortunately, this guy didn't challenge him first, which means that at least in Ryder's eyes, his strength is stronger than Marshal Kong. Although it is still uncomfortable, it is more or less a consolation. Looking at what you mean, it seems that I have won and set the schedule. Zhang Yang stepped forward step by step. That powerful oppressive force rolled forward, and the atmosphere in the air froze instantly. Do you think I will lose? Originally, my goal was to start with you, but when I came back from the Grand Line, I just ran into Kong Ji, so I had to deal with him first. Ryder's tone was natural, as if he was just narrating a fact. He didn't care about the oncoming violent aura, and his top-level admiral-level combat power would no longer be affected by pure aura. Although this level of aura really made him shudder. In fact, in the eyes of most people, apart from the semi-retired Zephyr Admiral, Garp is the strongest among naval headquarters, admiral-level combat power, followed by Admiral Sengoku and Field Marshal Kongu. As for the Admiral Black Owl, he is estimated to be at the bottom of the admiral level of combat power, and is AB***************. D. The way he became admiral was to behead the Golden Lion in the Admiral Sea and become famous in one battle. Became admiral's strength by beheading the Golden Lion. But everyone knows how much water is in this beheading alone. Golden Lion fought with Luia, was swept into the sea by the storm and tsunami, escaped from death before encountering the Black Owl. As for the Golden Lion, it's clear how much strength it has. It might be half, but it might not be half. Therefore, most people have different judgments on Admiral Black Owl's combat power. Admiral level, but it should not exceed the top admiral. After all, age or something is put there. At the age of about 20 years old, it is already very rare to be able to become an admiral level fighter. As for the top admiral level, it may not be possible until he is 25 years old. As for the peak admiral like Garp, this is no longer something that can be achieved with hard work. Talent, hard work, opportunity. These conditions are indispensable. In the entire naval headquarters, only one Garp has reached this level. The former Marshal Kong, or the future Sengoku also have the opportunity to touch this level. However, in any case, it is definitely not the realm that the current Heishao can reach. The corners of Zhang Yang's eyes twitched slightly, with an amiable smile on his face. So it's like this, you think you're going to get me? Be underestimated. The smile on Zhang Yang's face fell to the freezing point. Then, show me where your confidence comes from. Swish. The golden light gathered in front of him. Boom. The berserk power spread, and a golden foot was raised on the Red Earl's staff and sword. Armament Hockey's staff sword covered with a layer of scarlet was pressed against Zhang Yang's calf. The two faces are close to each other, with two pairs of eyes staring at each other, one pair of unruly and one pair of arrogant. Glittering fruit ability. Junior, it's still far behind. The Red Earl's eyes showed arrogance, this level of power is too ordinary. Yes, click, click. The cold chill spread from Zhang Yang's body, a layer of translucent blue ice crystal spread along the calf on the Red Earl's staff and sword to both sides. The Red Earl's eyes flashed, and he drew back. Frozen fruit. Looking at the thick layer of ice crystals on the stick sword, the Red Earl was a little surprised. With a light shake of the stick sword, the ice crystal fragments on the sword were broken. The peculiar ability of Devil Fruit, can it imitate the ability of others? The Red Earl looked at Zhang Yang with a surprised tone. The blushing figure on the spot slowly dissipated, and the figure of the Red Earl appeared in front of Zhang Yang in an instant. Moonlight, waltz, the staff sword in his hand swept out, and a crimson ring lingered in the air for a long time. Rumble, the arc cut through, and Zhang Yang's body was cut off from it, turning into photons. Boom. The slash fell into the sea, stirring up a curtain of water all over the sky. Amazon Cloud Sword. The light particles in Zhang Yang's hand condensed into a sword, and slashed at the Red Earl. Clang. The air waves generated by the fierce collision shattered the clouds in the sky. Ryder, is this the only level? Zhang Yang looked down at the Red Earl, and the lightsaber covered with black and red hockey pressed hard. Do you really think I will lose to you in the competition of strength? Want to be the strongest in the world? Have you asked me? The fierce battle made the sea boil. The Red Earl was horrified, he didn't use the fruit ability, just relying on hockey and his physique, he suppressed him with pure sword skills. But he felt that this was only part of the strength this guy showed. Admiral Pinnacle, like Garp, reach the peak admiral strength of human ultimate. Marine, when did such a monster come out? Clang. During the fierce collision, the Red Earl was directly blasted away by the berserk force. Have you ever seen the most powerful force in the world? Golden Lion, Luia, Whitebeard, even Garp. The calm water surface froze into ice bit by bit. Zhang Yang walked forward slowly with steady steps, the lightsaber in his hand dissipated little by little. Their so-called power is worthless in front of me. 0. Seeking flowers. Boom. A violent bloody flame rose from the Red Earl's body. The Red Earl, whose speed and strength had suddenly increased by a few points, appeared in front of Zhang Yang in an instant. You don't care about power at all. Click. Zhang Yang clenched his fists and knocked in the air. The air is like a mirror, making a cracking sound, and fine and dense cracks like spider webs emerge from the air. Zhang Yang looked at the rushing Red Earl with indifferent eyes, and the smile on the corner of his mouth was ridiculed and disdainful. That is the pity of the strong for the weak. I don't know anything. The scarlet slash turned into a continuous sword net, covering it. But it was completely isolated by the wall transformed by a layer of invisible shock force. Above the hands, there is a layer of milky white and translucent, like gloves. With one punch, the surrounding air is shaking. Boom. He raised his sword to block, but the Red Earl who was punched in the chest flew out directly. His feet rubbed against the ice, and he slid out for hundreds of meters. This power. The stick and sword in his hand shattered under the strong shock force, and the Red Earl half kneeled on the ground. There was a bright red at the corner of the mouth, and the eyes were full of disbelief. Even in the face of Garp, it is impossible for him to be so defenseless. Tread, tread. The sound of crisp footsteps rang in my ears, and the Red Earl raised his head with difficulty. With a pair of pitch-black leather shoes and a neat and serious black suit, Zhang Yang patted the dust that didn't exist on the clothes, and lowered his head to look down at the Red Earl in front of him. In Marine, how can there be a monster like you? The Red Earl who was half kneeling on the ground struggled to get up, the arrogance no longer appeared on his lonely face. There was neither fear nor fear in Zhang Yang's eyes, but he simply tidied up his messy clothes. Zhang Yang watched coldly, didn't stop him, and didn't need to stop him. It is not an excessive requirement to treat a strong person of this level and give them a dignified death. You remind me of a person who has never shown up, but makes the world government afraid. The Red Earl said to himself. Zhang Yang was silent, but did not interrupt. The Red Earl looked at Zhang Yang, and there seemed to be some enlightenment in those wise eyes. So it's like this. It seems that what you're plotting is this world. Quote. Dark Emperor. A mighty overkill marine. A man who never showed his face but made the world fear him. The two shouldn't have any relationship. But for some reason, the Red Earl naturally connected the two together. Maybe it's intuition, or maybe something else. This world is too small, so small that there is no room for another person except you. Can you defeat this world? Create a new era. I am looking forward to it. The Red Earl slowly closed his eyes, his heartbeat gradually stopped. Zhang Yang's punch just now had directly cut off his last vitality. Being able to get up from the ground and die standing up is the last trace of his dignity as the Red Earl. Dignity doesn't make him triumphant, but decent enough. It begins with war and ends with war. Ending life with a brilliant battle, this kind of ending is unexpectedly good. At least he isn't getting old and ushering in his end in unwillingness and jealousy. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 73 Second Incarnation. Uchiha Madara. Honorable man. Zhang Yang put his hands on his chest, regardless of his strength and courage. This kind of strong will alone is enough to make people feel respectful. A little respect flashed in my heart. But as an enemy, no matter how much you appreciate the other party, since you are against him, it is already doomed. This is everyone's choice, and people have to pay for their choices. Perhaps one day he too will be cornered by a negligible error. But he will not hold grudges or regrets. Now that you have done something, you must have the courage and determination to bear the consequences. If there is no such preparation, wouldn't it be ridiculous to overthrow the world government? Looking at the unstoppable figure standing on the ice like a mountain peak. A cloud of colorful hazy light slowly emerged from Zhang Yang's hand. The power of illusion. He wants to build a top puppet with the help of the Red Earl, who has been tempered to the ultimate body. Although he had another choice before. That is the chief knight of the Night Kingdom. That guy is also a top-notch admiral-level fighter, and his body is tempered no less than the Red Earl. They are all physiques that have reached the limit of 303 with a light hammer. But that guy, after being slapped half to death by him, used the power of death to assimilate into a puppet with top admiral-level strength. Now it has been brought to Gaxi Island by Poros as a hidden force. The reason why he didn't choose the chief knight was because he didn't like armament Hawkeye, who was in Ultimate's trash. The top admiral level is also divided into high and low strength. If the physique reaches the limit, it can already be regarded as a top admiral. On this basis, if the ability, sword skills, or armament Hawkeye also reach the top level, a top admiral expert who has mastered more top-level abilities, in terms of strength, is definitely stronger than a top admiral expert who has a single ability to break through the limit. Bolt's physique and sword skills hit the top admiral level. But the Red Earl is stronger than him. Apart from physical fitness and sword skills, Hawkeye has reached the top level. If judged strictly according to strength, the Red Earl can already be regarded as a quasi-peak admiral. His combat power has almost reached the limit of what he can achieve, with a body that has been honed over time, perfect sword skills, and the top Hawkeye. The only shortcoming is that it should have just broken through this realm, and has not yet fully familiarized itself with its own power. Therefore, when fighting against a strong man like Garp who has been immersed in the peak admiral level for many years, he may be slightly lacking in experience. However, this gap is not obvious. Now, if he fights Garp, the chances of winning or losing are only slightly different. It's a pity that what he encountered was Zhang Yang, a monster whose combat power could not be judged by the usual standards. So he died. Cool and crisp. The transfiguration power that shone with colorful light slowly merged into the body of the Red Earl. Under the influence of the light, the Red Earl's body began to change. A messy hedgehog head, covered in red plate armor, with a huge flame fan behind his back. The tightly closed eyes slowly opened, and the three jades in the blood-colored pupils slowly flowed, gradually turning into a big windmill. Are you my creator? Rebellious tone, full of conceited face. That unhurried voice seemed to be declaring, low and hoarse with an unforgettable domineering voice. He carefully looked at the man in front of him. The sense of obedience from the depths of his soul made him kneel down involuntarily. Accept my allegiance. Although he knows that he is just a creation that may be replaced at any time, everything is woven by others, a false memory. But the arrogance deeply rooted in his bones, and the dignity from the Red Earl, made him not want to kneel down to anyone. This is the instinct deep in the soul and the body, resisting. But thinking that this is his own creator, it is barely acceptable. Zhang Yang looked at the figure in front of him that was exactly the same as Uchiha Madara in his impression. With the incomplete memory fragments of the Red Earl, he integrated his understanding and character of Uchiha Madara, and instilled part of his own memory. This high imitation version of Uchiha Madara was finally created. Possesses all abilities of Uchiha Madara, Mangekyo, Rinnegan, Six Paths Mode. Of course, although they are all weakened abilities, how much strength can be exerted depends on the original ability and tolerance of the body. With the physique of the Red Earl, in the state of Mangekyo, he can persist for a long time. If Rinnegan is activated, the continuous fighting time may only be a few hours. As for the highest level Six Paths Mode, a few minutes or 10 minutes is possible. And it's not the full Six Paths Mode. It is a version with greatly reduced power. The real Six Paths Mode, that is enough to destroy the power of the world. Obviously, this level of power cannot be grasped by a puppet created with the Red Earl's physique at all. Even if it is replaced by him himself, it is estimated that it will be very difficult. I have a task for you now. Zhang Yang looked at Uchiha Madara who was half kneeling on the ground. Create a pirate group and attack New World. Too strong strength, while deterring others, also has enough disadvantages. Today's Dark Emperor, the division of camps is very embarrassing, neither belongs to the pirate force nor the world government marine force. He was part of the Revolutionary Army. But today's Revolutionary Army is only at the stage of development, and has no background and strength at all. Therefore, the current situation of Gaxi Island is not very good. It can be said that it is directly sandwiched between the two major forces of marine and pirates. Neither can it develop like in the New World, nor can it march towards the Grand Line, otherwise it will arouse resistance from the two camps. Although it is possible to forcibly break the deadlock, but the price paid like that is not acceptable to him. So he now needs a critical key. It can allow him to intervene in the distribution of the New World rights cake in the era of chaos that is about to erupt. And Uchiha Madara is his next key to break the deadlock. Since New World does not welcome the Dark Emperor, he will create a more powerful pirate group. A top pirate group surpassing countless sea forces such as Whitebeard, Kaido, and Bigmom. Clockadar's tentacles have spread throughout the kingdoms of the Grand Line. Doflamingo's underground forces have also enveloped North Blue, secretly controlling the power of several kingdoms, and are now expanding to other sea areas. Next, he only needs to get involved in New World's cake, then from Four Seas, to Grand Line, and New World, his eyeliner and influence will be everywhere. Of course, there is also the Amazon Lily, the daughter country of Calm Belt, and the kingdom of Murlocs under the 10,000-meter deep sea. But when his influence spreads all over the world, is it still far from the end of the world government? Yes, my lord. Uchiha Madara bowed her head, respectful eyes. Although his character is unruly, but in front of Zhang Yang, all his conceit must be put away. As a creation of Zhang Yang, he knows the temper of his main body better than anyone else. Any trace of disobedience that shouldn't exist will arouse his gluttonous and insatiable desire to control. Uchiha Madara arranged everything, including his contact details. As for the basic information, Zhang Yang instilled it into his mind from the moment he was created. So next, which step he can take depends on himself. If he can't fulfill his request, Zhang Yang doesn't mind changing another person to achieve his goal. Back in the fortress, Zhang Yang took out the phone bug under the table. Contact Naval Headquarters, Naval Headquarters. This is the G8 Fortress, Admiral Black Owl, which has just been attacked by the Red Earl Rider. The fortress lost a warship, and the casualties have not yet been counted. Red Earl Rider has been shot dead, and his body has been burned cleanly. I guarantee it in the name of the Admiral of Headquarters Black Owl. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Yang stretched his waist, lay down on the chair and watched the scenery outside the window. The world is going to be in chaos again. But that's good. If the world doesn't become chaotic, how can he have the opportunity to do Black Hands? Anyway, as long as it doesn't affect Joshi Island, everything has nothing to do with him. As for taking the initiative to attack Gaxi Island, no matter if it is a marine or a pirate, as long as they are not out of their wits, it is impossible for them to do such a mindless thing. So his current 1.8 goal is to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight. Watch him get up from Zulo, watch him entertain guests, watch his building collapse. How long can the world government continue to be active? Early the next morning, Admiral of Headquarters and G8 Fortress killed a legendary pirate Lonely Red. The buzzing newspapers spread all over the world. After the Golden Lion, one of the overlords of King's Landing New World, the Red Earl who can be compared with Uchiha and Whitebeard. Fall. Admiral, the strongest in naval headquarters, is known all over the world as the Black Owl. Unlike the last time Golden Lion was defeated, the Red Earl, who defeated Marshal Kong alone, proved his strength with his strength. And just a few days later, when he challenged Admiral, he ended his legendary life. There is no doubt that the strength of the Red Earl is definitely at the peak of the sea. How strong will the Admiral Black Owl who can kill him be? Naval Headquarters, World Government, Pirate Forces. Everyone has new predictions about the strength of the newly promoted Admiral. After the Marine hero Garp, the second peak Admiral level powerhouse within Marine. After staying up all night, I finally finished writing. If you have a lot of money, please give it away. Many chapters have been added, thank you for the reward. Chapter 74 Naval Headquarters has the strongest combat power. Hero Black Owl. Google la, is Ryder dead too? It's really unexpected that you can kill a strong man of this level. Marine has another monster like Garp. On the waters of New World, a huge pirate ship sails slowly. Looking at the newspaper in his hand, Whitebeard gave a heroic smile, and a hint of imperceptible worry flashed in his eyes. Marine's momentum gradually rose, and those old guys died one by one. All signs seemed to indicate that the end of pirates is coming. Whitebeard hid the worry in his eyes well as he looked at his sons who were playing around. The more it came to this time, the less he could show his worry. If even he is scared, what will these little fellows do? Father, do you think this Red Earl is very powerful? Marco, newspaper in hand, looked at Whitebeard curiously. Gu la, so, your father and I are the strongest, Whitebeard. Whitebeard said without blushing. Marco looked at him suspiciously. Since he is a legendary pirate who can sit side by side with Whitebeard, the Red Earl's strength should not be mediocre no matter what you think. Doubts are doubts, and Marco will not be able to expose his father's lies on the spot. Otherwise, there will be an old punch. He is so old, if he is still caught and spanked, then he will stop messing around in front of these brothers. Do you still want your face? Father, Daddy, there's a ship rolling over behind us. At this moment, a sound of panic came from above the sentry tower. Gu la, did you follow us? Oh 7, it seems to be. Then let him come. Whitebeard laughed boldly, and took a sip from the wine bowl that was bigger than a person. Whether it's the pursuit of Marine, or the challenge of other people. As the strongest ever at sea, he is fearless. Whether it's Garp or He Xiao, even if the Black Emperor comes, it's impossible to make him succumb. In front of his group of children, he will always be that invincible daddy. The pirate ship behind him slowly approached. This is. The pirate on the watchtower widened his eyes. Luia pirates. Luia and Whitebeard met in New World. I heard there was a fight. Will they join together temporarily? Suru Vice Admiral and Field Marshal Sora discussed there. Garp, who was sent back from New World because Marshal Kong was injured, ate his donuts indifferently. Impossible, Luia won't team up with anyone. Marshal Kong on the side, with a bandage wrapped around his body, glanced at him with an unhappy expression. Are you a Marine or a pirate? What is that Luia trustworthy expression on your face trying to do? If it were someone else who trusted a pirate so much and had a good personal relationship, he would have lost his temper a long time ago. Only this heartless guy can make him so helpless. Although Garp usually looks like he has no brains, there is absolutely no need to doubt his firmness in the face of big right and wrong. Well, this guy is just a little straight-headed. It's natural, and I guess it can't be changed. By the way, old man Kong and Xiaohei, do you have any rewards for that kid He Xiao? Suddenly remembered something, Garp asked curiously, looking at Marshal Kong and the Crane Vice Admiral next to him. No, Marshal Kong rubbed his forehead with some headaches. Ever since the fight with the Red Earl, his brain seemed to have suffered sequelae. Frequent headaches. According to this situation, I am afraid that the day of his retirement should not be far away. As for whether to take over the position of World Government Commander after retirement, or go to Naval Headquarters as an instructor. Still to be discussed. The position of World Government Commander is generally taken over by the Marshal of Naval Headquarters. After all, compared to the Army and CP organizations, Marine is the real son of the World Government. But this kind of thing is not afraid of 10,000, just in case. No one knows whether Five Elders will suddenly have a brain twitch, thinking that he has treated the army badly, so he should hand over the position of commander to the army to make up for the injured heart of the army. Of course, the chances of this are very small. Counting the century-old history of the world government, 9 of the 10 world government commanders are retired marshals from naval headquarters. Of course, it's too early to say this kind of thing. With his current body, it's not too late to be in this position for a few more years. I discussed this matter with 5 elders. 5 elders means monetary rewards, awarding Marine the Medal of Courage, creating a new Marine hero, and making Black Owl a symbol of Marine's courage and glory. It's like the old Garp. Defeated the Locks pirates, but refused to promote Admiral. 5 elders took a different approach. Grant him the title of Naval Headquarters Hero Garp. On the left and right is an award order, plus a worthless medal. Of course, although these things are insignificant in the eyes of five elders, for those who are in the Marine system, this is the highest honor. It can be seen from Garp's current popularity within Marine. Words speak better than Marine Admiral. Then give it to him. Garp picked his nose indifferently. He doesn't care about such things. His house is full of trophies and medals like a pile of rubbish. If it weren't for these things, no one dared to take them, he would have sold them to buy something to eat. He can't even be bothered to call Admiral, let alone a worthless brand. When it was given to him at the beginning, he thought it would be better to give him a bag of senbei. Marshal Kong heaved a sigh of relief seeing that Garp didn't show any passive resistance. He was afraid that Garp would complain to him at this time. After all, He Xiao's Marine Medal of Courage looked like he was poaching Garp's corner. The Black Owl became a symbol of courage and glory for the naval headquarters. Isn't Garp, the original Marine hero, just hung on the wall? It has become a past tense glory. When five elders put forward this opinion, he was extremely opposed. It's a pity that the arm can't twist the thigh, and he has no way to refute what the five elders decided. And besides this reward, he couldn't think of other ways at all. Could it be possible to let him abdicate directly and let He Xiao become the marshal? This is a bit unlikely. After all, the qualifications are there. How long has Black Owl been in Marine? It would be an exaggeration to say that it is less than 3 years. Directly became the marshal of the headquarters. It's G outrageous to say this. However, it's impossible to kill a legendary pirate like the Red Earl, it doesn't mean it at all. I originally thought that if Garp was very resistant to this matter, he would try to persuade him. As a result, it now appears that people simply don't take the title of Marine hero seriously. This gave Marshal Kong the feeling of punching the air. There is no place for prepared lines. Shaking his head dejectedly, he picked up the phone bug on the table. Go to G8 Fortress Admiral. That's it again. Hanging up the phone at the headquarters, Zhang Yang, who was leaning on the chair, curled his lips. The treasure house of the world government has accumulated treasures for so many years, and any one taken out is worth a lot. In the end, he took such a broken metal to deal with him. This five elders is also really stingy. Naval headquarters, Marineford in 3 days. This is the first time. Is it the third time? How long has this kid been a Marine, and a ceremony of this scale has been held 3 times? In the past, it was impossible to appear once every 10 years. Why does it seem like you can see it every day? He is powerful, what can you do? If you can stomp on Whitebeard and punch Luia, the world government will do the same to you. Someone sneered disdainfully. Such things as strength determine a person's treatment. The world is so real. I really think that other people's honor is picked up. Is acid useful? Stop talking. The Black Owl Admiral is here. The auditorium, which was full of discussions, fell silent for an instant. With just one name, he can suppress the entire naval headquarters and silence a group of veterans who are old enough to teach him. That's Zhang Yang's influence now at naval headquarters. Unlike the Marine hero Garp, who is approachable, Admiral is a symbol of strength and power in the eyes of others. And he hates pirates very much. The most obvious manifestation is that among the pirates he defeated, none of them survived. Although 900 killed some pirates, this cold-blooded and cruel method undoubtedly made other Marines deeply afraid. Countless gazes looked behind him. Under the attention of all the people, the focused flashes continued to light up. Zhang Yang, who was wearing a black suit with a Marine Justice cloak on his shoulders, walked in slowly under the eyes of everyone. Cut. This guy, he really knows how to play handsome. Sakazuki, who was sitting in the crowd, pouted. How can you really see how upset he is? Seems to notice Sakazuki's gaze. Zhang Yang's faint eyes turned away inadvertently, and his eyes met. Like an evil dragon in the dark night, he opened his eyes and looked at him quietly. The heavy breath seemed to echo behind the ears. It seemed as if it would bite and tear it apart in the next second. Sakazuki's heart stopped for a moment. It's terrible. Pelusolino, who was sitting next to Sakazuki, moved to the side anxiously, with an expression of fear of being involved. Zhang Yang slowly looked away. With his current status, he was comparing himself with Sakazuki, a preselected admiral. It will only lose face. Akainu is nothing, not worth mentioning. When will he grow to the level of the future Marine Marshal? Maybe it can make him a little interested. The once serious confidant, but now he has become a weak person who can't even arouse his interest. The world is so wonderful. All personnel arrived, and the award ceremony officially began. When the medal was worn by Marshal Kong, there was a loud applause. Zhang Yang's eyes swept across the crowd, and no one dared to look at him. This medal not only represents status and identity, but also represents the handover of honor between the new term and the old strong combat power. The old days are gone, now. It is the era of the new generation. Of his time. Before we know it, we are getting old. Such a scene made Admiral Sangoku and a group of people sitting in the audience couldn't help but have this thought in their minds. The tide of the times has begun to change. Chapter 75. Do you want to dance too? Uchiha Madara, the reward amount is 530 million. A guy I've never heard of, where did he come from? And it's a weird outfit. On the brand new reward order, a man in red plate armor is carrying a round fan on his back. In the picture, the man spits out a huge flame, completely burning a group of pirates. I heard that he killed the Amog pirates with a bounty of 500 million belly all by himself. Hiss. Is it so powerful? The Amog pirates are a well-known large-scale pirate group in New World. There are more than 2,000 people in total, although it is not as good as the top big pirates such as Luia pirates and Whitebeard pirates. But it's not someone who can be killed casually. Being able to destroy the Emerald pirates alone, no wonder he was so wanted by the world government. A small pirate ship slowly approached outside the Subduing archipelago. Is there no one in this world who can arouse my interest a little bit? A round fan logo in the shape of a ping-pong bat is hung on the pirate ship. Uchiha Madara standing at the bow looked at the approaching island with fierce eyes. I hope to see some interesting guys here, and warm up my decayed body a little bit. For the strong, only by defeating those strong, tasting their blood and failure, can he truly feel the fact that he is still alive. Waiting for the same invincible career will only make him feel that his life is wasted. He needs an opponent who can make him go all out. What kind of crew? Friends, such indifferent things are not needed at all. A boat that can take him anywhere, a navigator who can understand the eternal pointer, and a few ordinary people who can sail a boat. As for the matter of conquering the new world, he alone is enough. Lonely rider, this body really, unexpectedly suits my appetite. Slightly squinting his eyes, the deep guyu in his eyes slowly rotated. Vampire fruit of phantom beast species. How could such a thing appear? The auction house in Subduing has taken out all the things at the bottom of the box. Hey, I guess it took a lot of money to get this thing. There is no way. The illegal trade in the whole world is now moving to Gaxi Island. If the auction house of Subduing archipelago doesn't think of a way, it will probably go bankrupt. The melon-eating crowd with leaflets in their hands clicked their tongues. Since the appearance of Gaxi Island, the Subduing archipelago, which was originally a paradise for pirates, has gradually begun to fall into disrepair. It doesn't seem sudden. Subduing archipelago is divided into 79 areas. Areas 1 to 29 are mostly engaged in slave trade, usury, and the illegal trade of emerging drugs. Numbers 30 to 39 are amusement parks, numbers 40 to 49 are sightseeing areas, selling souvenirs, numbers 50 to 59 are shipyards, with coding craftsmen, numbers 60 to 69 are marine and government access areas, numbers 70 to 79 it is hotel street and other places. Among them, areas 1 to 49 can be said to be the places with the widest flow of people on the island. The flow of people over the 8th floor flows in these areas. But Gaxi Island, which appeared out of nowhere, attracted most of the people with its safe environment and various new things. The once glorious and bustling Subduing archipelago is estimated to have only 1/3 of the current flow of people. And this number is still decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The transfer of countless illegal transactions and the backwardness of the amusement park have made more people regard Joshi Island as their first choice. Among them, the most important and critical role is the issue of safety. As the amusement park of celestial dragons, Subduing archipelago is also the only place to pass through to the new world, and there are countless pirates. It happened more than once that I came to play but was taken away by slave traders and sold as slaves. The order aspect is really unsatisfactory. And this, Gaxi Island is just the opposite. The serious lack of flow of people has caused a sharp drop in business volume. One store after another is on the verge of closure. In order to find a way out, some had to transfer their business to Gaxi Island, while some were still struggling like auction houses. A few weeks ago, the Subduing archipelago held a huge auction. With 21 jobs, it attracted a large number of strong and interested people, and even other products were sold at high prices. That auction was very successful, so this time, the auction house that has benefited from it intends to continue to replicate the success of the previous one. So it cost a lot of Bailey to buy this legendary phantom beast devil fruit from a collector who likes to collect devil fruit. Zone. Phantasmal species. Bat fruit. Vampire form. Run, run, celestial dragons are in. There was a cry of panic from the crowd, and a group of melon eaters who were discussing together were so frightened that they even threw away the newspapers. As if seeing some prehistoric beast, he panicked and hid everywhere. In the blink of an eye, the streets were empty of people. It's been a long time since I visited here. I don't know if there are any new good things in my favorite auction house. These lowly untouchables are really an eyesore. Fat celestial dragons riding a longhand slave, with glass bubble decorations on their heads. Looking at the civilians and pirates kneeling on the ground on both sides, he sniffled and frowned in disgust. Great Lord Shigoris, do you want us to drive these untouchables away? The members of the CP organization on the side showed flattering smiles on their faces. Boom. The smiles on their faces froze, and the members of the CP organization looked at the bullet holes in their chests, and the black smoking firecracker in the hands of the dragon opener. Drive these lowly untouchables, you be asterisk 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 D, are you trying to waste my precious time? Also, I hate when someone gets so close to me. With a cold snort full of displeasure, celestial dragons didn't even look at the member of the CP organization who was covered in blood and fell to the ground. His eyes swept across the surroundings, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He pointed a gun at a shivering woman kneeling on the side of the road. This woman has a good figure, the type one like, take it back to me as my 75, no, 76 wife, throw away the previous one. Two CP members in suits immediately ran over like dogs and grabbed the woman kneeling on the ground. No, do not want. I already have a husband. The woman's pupils constricted and struggled frantically. Let go of my wife. The thin man kneeling next to him widened his eyes and rushed forward like crazy to stop him. What? I already have a husband. I don't like women with husbands. Celestial Dragons showed a tangled face, and after thinking hard for a while, a smile appeared on his face. Boom. The man fell in a pool of blood, and the Celestial Dragons had a smug smile on their faces. Now you don't have a husband, you can go back with me. The woman looked at the figure lying in the pool of blood, and stood there in a daze. After a while, a shrill scream sounded. Swish. Celestial Dragon's smile suddenly froze on his face, a bloodstain appeared between his brows, and his body parted from head to toe to both sides. The sprayed blood spattered the surrounding crowd. The brains of the CP members on both sides were blank and completely dumbfounded. Behind the fallen corpse, there was an expressionless and unruly face. Click. The bright blade slowly returned to the scabbard, and Uchiha Madara's calm eyes did not fluctuate in the slightest. He patted the blood drop on his shoulder as if it was stained with some garbage. It's two in the way. God. The Celestial Dragons are dead. He dared to kill. This guy is dying. Run. Buster Call is coming. The panicked crowd fled in all directions, and the pirates, civilians, and everyone all had expressions of panic. The last time the Celestial Dragons were slain, Galaxy Island welcomed a super-sized Buster Call. What about this time? No one knows. Uchiha Madara walked forward nonchalantly. UB************. D. The two CP members who reacted were furious, and the Celestial Dragons were killed. They, the CP members responsible for protecting the Tien, Li's dragon people, must not escape their responsibility this time. In anger, the two CP members rushed up desperately. Only by killing this daring guy can they survive. Otherwise, what awaits them will be the wrath from the world government. The bark of the weak. Uchiha Madara glanced away and twitched the corner of her mouth, as if mocking their overreach. Finger pistol. Tempest kick. Boom. You died. Seeing Uchiha Madara who was hit without avoiding it, the eyes of the two CP members brightened. Boom. The hit body turned into a stake and disappeared. What? Wood. Gone. The surprise expression on the face was stiff, and the two CP members were full of surprise. What is this? Devil fruit ability. Uchiha Madara, who appeared on the roof, gradually smiled wantonly. Do you want to dance too? Change hands quickly. The throat surged, and the huge flames condensed into 4 huge flame dragons, sweeping the entire street. One Setsuna, the surrounding temperature suddenly rises to ultimate. Steel, rock, everything was incinerated in the flames. Fire style. Dragon flame singing technique. Such weak ones should be turned into dust in the flames. Chapter 76 Phantom Beasts. Vampire fruit. The empty streets turned into black ruins in the flames. Tread. Uchiha Madara, who was walking slowly, looked down at the few withered corpses. Not a single decent guy. Too weak. Weakness makes him unable to raise his fighting spirit at all. A gust of wind blew, and a flyer floated in front of my eyes. Snapped. Uchiha Madara grabbed the leaflet casually, glanced at it casually, and narrowed her eyes slightly. Phantom Beast. Vampire fruit. Known as the great secret treasure of the sea, he only felt this kind of thing in his memory. Interesting. Looking at the strangely shaped fruit, Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed with curiosity. Auction. With a slight glance from the corner of the eye, circles of purple lines appeared in the fundus of his eyes. Universal pull. A terrifying attraction erupted, attracting a pirate hiding in a corner. No, don't kill me. The pupils of the caught pirates were wide open, and they looked at the guy who dared to kill celestial dragons in panic. I'm not interested in the weak. Uchiha Madara gave him a deadpan look. He took out the flyer and gave him a look. Do you know where this is? The largest auction house in Sabayati, Wen, of course knows. The pirate nodded timidly. Take me there. The pirate's face was full of fear, his feet were shaking, and he looked at Uchiha Madara as if he was about to cry. His mouth opened, but he didn't dare to refuse. He could only take Uchiha Madara to the auction house with a mournful face. Boom. Marshal, what's the matter? Crane Vice Admiral, who was working, looked at the angry Marshal Kongu suspiciously. The celestial dragons have been killed again. Marshal 077 Kong rubbed his brows, his face full of headaches. On Galaxy Island, Crane Vice Admiral's first thought was that this group of brainless idiots went to Galaxy Island to cause trouble again. No, at the Sabayati archipelago. Marshal Kong felt a headache. The killings of celestial dragons, which hadn't happened for decades, now happened one after another. First the Black Emperor, then the Sabayati archipelago, just a stone's throw away from the naval headquarters. If this indulgence continues, the celestial dragons in the holy land of Mariajoy will die out in no time. Send Black Owl. Marshal Kong picked up the phone bug in hand. Celestial dragons are the descendants of the founders of the world government. They were attacked. As the facade of the world government, in order to maintain the majesty of the world government, Marine sent Admiral to suppress it. Hey, Black Owl, the celestial dragons have been attacked, you go. Zhang Yang, who had just connected the phone, frowned fiercely when he heard Marshal Kong's voice from the phone bug. He knew exactly who killed the celestial dragons. Uchiha Madara is his incarnation. Let him kill Uchiha Madara. What kind of operation is this? I kill myself. No way. Marshal Kong Gu, I have something to do here, and I can't leave my body for the time being. Zhang Yang, who was lying on the bed taking a nap, rolled over to the side. He yawned lazily. Also, the G8 fortress is not close to New World, you just let Sangoku and Vice Admiral Garp go, that's it. Beep beep. Looking at the phone bug that was hung up, the marshal's brows could not help but twitch violently. It's getting worse and worse. How dare you hang up my phone? Since Heishao doesn't want to go, let Sangoku go. Crane Vice Admiral smiled and smoothed things over. As far as the virtue of celestial dragons is concerned, it is estimated that few people will like it. Soldiers who obey orders like Sangoku and Sakazuki will learn to tolerate their private emotions. But with lawless temperaments like Heishao and Garp, if you don't want to do something, you must resolutely refuse it. If you insist on letting him do it, it is probably not a matter of releasing water. That is to release the sea. It doesn't make sense to force it. It just so happens that Sangoku is now back from New World 2. His original mission was to guard the second half of New World, while Admiral Black Owl only guarded the first half of New World, but now the order in the second half of New World is completely chaotic. BIGMOM, Whitebeard, Kaido, plus big and small pirates gathered in the second half of New World. The situation that could be barely suppressed completely collapsed with the death of the Red Earl. Unscrupulous pirates have occupied different islands. It's hard to say whether it's good or bad, but the world government has already decided to give up control of the second half of New World. Even without the Red Earl thing, it wouldn't be long before naval headquarters would be out of the second half of New World. The marine freed up can instead continue to deepen its influence and control over other sea areas. Then let Sangoku go. Kong Ji was helpless. Heishao's typical attitude of not wanting to cooperate, even if he was reluctant, it was of no use. As for punishment or something, strictly speaking, the status of Martial Marine is only fatter than Admiral. He can order Admiral, but if he wants to punish an Admiral-level powerhouse in a real way, he needs a higher level of authority. 5 elders and the supreme commander of the world government directly under the 5 elders commander are eligible for this. In the large auction house, security guards in black suits fell to the ground one by one. A crimson figure danced amidst swords and guns, walking on the edge between life and death. Every swing of the sharp blade will take away a fresh life. Weak people are pitiful. A pair of bewitching eyes turned slightly, and all the subtle movements in front of them were captured. Tilting his head, a bullet grazed his temples, and the scorching air wave made people feel a bit of burning pain. Uchiha Madara pulled the short sword out of a murloc's neck, and threw it behind him with his backhand. Puff! The man with the musket in his hand, with the short sword stuck in his head, fell backwards. The sprayed blood dyed the red plate armor on his body more vividly. As far as the eye can see, only the person in charge of the auction house is left cowering, sitting on the ground in horror with a big belly. You, who the hell are you and what AHFG do you want? The body backed away, looking at Feng Zibo Madara who was slowly approaching with horror in his eyes. Our auction house shouldn't have offended you, right? In Uchiha Madara's eyes, 3 pitch black hook jades slowly rotated. The deep spirit invaded the man's mind as an illusion. Tell me, where is this fruit? Put the leaflet in your hand in front of the head of the auction house. Uchiha Madara asked in a deep voice. The head of the auction house with dull eyes looked at the red devil fruit on the leaflet. A trace of entanglement flashed in his eyes, and it turned into a daze in an instant. In the safe in the basement. Bring it to me. Yes. The person in charge with a round belly like a ball walked into the basement like a marionette, and came back with a wooden box after a while. It's in there. Uchiha Madara took the wooden box, and violently dismantled the structure of the wooden box with his fingers. A strange-looking red devil fruit covered with spiral patterns appeared in front of his eyes. Vampire fruit. Uchiha Madara slowly picked up the devil fruit, the corners of her mouth curled up. The great secret treasure of the sea. Just let me see what kind of secret you have. Puff. It's so hard to eat. The unruly expression froze slightly, and Uchiha Madara threw the bitten devil fruit on the ground as if nothing had happened. Sure enough, human beings have limits. Some things are destined to be impossible. Although the real strong must endure the unbearable pain of ordinary people in order to hone their tenacious and unyielding will. But, forget about eating shit. If someone can eat all of this shit worse than shit, then he Uchiha Madara, willing to call it the strongest. Do you control the power of blood? The ability of the vampire fruit naturally comes to mind. Uchiha Madara waved his hand naturally, and the blood in each corpse seemed to be drawn by some kind of force, and under the strong attraction, it gathered into his palm from all directions. A bloody sickle floated in his hand. Crystal clear like a red crystal. With a thought, the bloody sickle in his hand turned into a soft whip. Snapped. The bloody long whip lashed against the wall, drops of blood splashed, and a pothole was instantly corroded where the blood dripped. Using blood to condense a corrosive weapon, although it cannot directly control the blood in other people's bodies, as long as the other party's body bleeds out blood, it will be affected by him. In addition to this, there is the most basic ability. By sucking the other party's blood, the other party can be aged quickly, and the sucked blood can also be used to restore one's own body to youthfulness. And these are only part of the ability to use the vampire fruit. As for the power of the awakened fruit ability, it will definitely be even more terrifying. Perhaps it can directly control the blood in the human body in an area. Uchiha Madara is very satisfied with the ability of this devil fruit. He glanced at the trembling pirate. Let's go. What happened here next is not something you should face. He is well aware of the consequences of killing the celestial dragons, and Marine's Buster Call is now or already on the way. And this happened to be his purpose. What is the easiest way to become famous in the world? And what could be more straightforward than knocking off Marine's Buster Call? Poros can defeat Marine's Buster Call and become famous all over the world. Why can't he, Uchiha Madara, take the name of Buster Call and start his first step to conquer the new world? This guy is such a lunatic that he still doesn't run away. Witnessing Uchiha Madara leaving the auction house, the pirate leading the way collapsed on the ground as if he had lost all his strength. His back was drenched with cold sweat. It's so stressful to be around this guy. Don't know where he is going. A question suddenly rose in his heart. The pirate thought about it, but still couldn't help the curiosity in his heart. Stealthily followed. There was no one on the burned out streets. The pirate who followed secretly saw this strange man sitting cross-legged on a fairly clean ground. Looking ahead, I don't know who is waiting for me. A thought flashed through my mind. Who is he waiting for? In the next second, an unbelievable thought came to my mind. Is he waiting for Buster Call? That is the highest combat power of the Admiral level of Naval Headquarters. Isn't he scared at all? Chapter 77 Susanoo. The Mighty Power of God. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of shells firing was low and roaring. Rumble. On the coast of the Sabayati archipelago, countless pirate ships were baptized by artillery fire. Flare. Explosion. Splash of shrapnel. Those leisurely pirates on the coast were bombarded by this series of artillery fire, and they were beaten directly. What happened? Where did the cannonball come from? Fool. Marine is here. Hurry up. FK. How did the Sabayati archipelago suddenly have so many marines? Have these marines gone mad? Looking at the huge fleet gradually approaching on the sea level, and the familiar symbols on the battleships, groups of pirates ran around as if they saw cats and mice. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen warships surrounded the pier of the Sabayati archipelago. Looking at the pier completely surrounded by marine, the pirate hiding in a private house couldn't help but curse secretly. Okay, why did these marines appear in Sabayati archipelago? A pirate hiding next to him whispered something. I heard someone killed the celestial dragons. For a moment, the crowd was silent. All of them stared at the speaking pirate with wide-eyed horror. Don't look at me, I didn't kill the celestial dragons, I just happened to pass by and saw it by accident. The talking pirate explained in a low voice that his scalp was numb from the sight of these guys. It took quite a while before someone stammered. Damn, is there anyone with such fat courage? Besides the Black Emperor, there are still people who dare to kill the celestial dragons. Isn't this not afraid of death? But if you say that, doesn't that mean? Boom. The golden light spreads. A terrifying shock wave fell from the sky and razed the entire house to the ground. A dozen pirates hiding in the house were pushed out by the shock wave. A huge golden Buddha covered in golden light descended from the sky. Admiral Buddha's Sangoku. Run. The pirates who thought they were safe in the house suddenly panicked. Who killed the celestial dragons? Sangoku looked down at a group of fleeing pirates, his majestic voice echoing. No, not us. How dare we kill the celestial dragons? If you don't know, then you are useless. Sangoku had no expression on his face, and slowly raised his hand, the palpitating energy fluctuations gathered in his palm. Shock. Don't kill us, I know who killed the Tianping people. It's the great pirate Uchiha Madara with a bounty of 500 million. Under the pressure of death, a pirate snotted out what he saw. The energy fluctuations in Sengoku's palm dissipated slowly. Uchiha Madara. Sengoku frowned. He wasn't unfamiliar with the name, but he wasn't familiar either. The big pirate with a bounty of 500 million is considered number one in the first half of New World. But it is not uncommon to enter the second half of the New World. A mere 500 million reward for daring to kill celestial dragons. It is simply life and death. Where did he kill the celestial dragons? Although the celestial dragons are dead, their bodies will still be sent back to the holy land of Mariajoy. This is also one of the tasks he came here this time. In Area 13, Sengoku whispered, and waved to Marine behind him. Catch all these people and send them to Impel Down together. All Marines continue to clear the surrounding pirates. After leaving an order, Sengoku rushed towards the 13th area with several vice admirals from the headquarters. As soon as I came to the 13th block, I saw the ruins that had been burned by the flames like a purgatory. On the crystallized ground, even the marble was burned into a translucent lens. All surrounding houses were burned down. Not to mention the corpse, even the ashes are basically invisible in this case. As this level of temperature caused by devil fruit. Sengoku was surprised and a little dizzy. The ground was incinerated, let alone the corpses of the celestial dragons. Even if there is such a thing, it is estimated that it has become a specimen. With a sweep of his gaze, in the distance, in the middle of the street, a figure sitting cross-legged came into view. This is Observation Hockey Extension. A familiar yet unfamiliar face came into view. Uchiha Madara. Sengoku paused every word, with puzzled eyes, killed the celestial dragons and didn't run away, and looked as if they were waiting for him. What does this pirate mean? Come yet. Close your eyes and meditate. Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes. Seeing Admiral Sengoku approaching ahead, he stood up slowly from the coiled posture. Admiral of Headquarters Sengoku, it's too late, I've been waiting for you for a long time. After stretching his muscles and bones, Uchiha Madara slowly stepped forward. As my first hunting target, I hope your existence can make me feel a little bit of fun. The breath on your body, just feeling it makes your blood boil. In the scarlet eyes, the pitch-black Guyu quickly rotated and joined together. Uchiha Madara's footsteps are getting faster and faster, and afterimages are dragged behind him. Gudong. There was a dull swallowing sound from behind. Under the strong pressure, the faces of several naval headquarters vice admirals following behind Sengoku were covered with cold sweat. The hurried footsteps were like drums beating on the heart. The nervous mood involuntarily speeds up amidst the rapid trampling sounds. The heart seems to be jumping out of the chest. Have an appetizer before the real battle begins. Sengoku's pupils contracted slightly, and ultimate sense of crisis made his scalp tingle. Back. This guy. Such a scalp-tingling sensation. It reminded him of someone for a moment. A guy who almost became the shadow of his heart. Poros. Brush, brush, brush. A blood-colored rose bloomed among the crowd. Uchiha Madara, who suddenly appeared in the crowd, pierced a vice admiral's heart with the blade in his hand. The heart and blood gathered in the hand and condensed into a spear. 0. Seeking flowers. The second. The spear shot out quickly hit a vice admiral. The moment the boiling spear hit, it exploded in vice admiral's body. UB****************. D. The furious Sengoku instantly turned into a huge golden Buddha, cracked his palm, and pressed towards Uchiha Madara. Puff. Uchiha Madara, which was shattered by the blow of the golden Buddha, instantly turned into a blood mist, and countless blood shadows emerged from the blood mist. Fist-sized bats flew around and formed behind another vice admiral. The last one. The blood on the ground was drawn into a short blade, which stabbed vice admiral in the back from behind. The envious Sengoku swung his palms all over the sky. Anyway, you must not be let out of here today. Shockwaves covering the sky came from above. Uchiha Madara looked up at Sengoku's golden body, and the spinning three-tomo Sharingan transformed into Mangekyo. Buddha Sengoku, have you seen my power in my prime? 2 lines of blood and tears dripped from the corners of his eyes. Susanoo. The blue energy mist converged into a half-human upper body bone shape, and blue flames burned on the huge hand bones. A huge blue flame long knife is condensed in the hand. Uchiha Madara, who was shrouded in the body of the translucent blue giant skeleton, held a bloody long knife in his hand. It swung out almost synchronously with the blue giant. Hurrah! Lan Yan's long knife swept across, and a crack spreading hundreds of meters appeared on the ground. Everything in front of him was divided into 2 sections under the huge long knife. Rumble. Half of the street collapsed into ruins under the 100-meter-long blue flame sword. Sengoku's figure flew upside down under this terrifying force. The blood is starting to heat up a little bit. Uchiha Madara moved her body, and the blue bones covered her body showed muscle texture at a speed visible to the naked eye, followed by skin. Tengu armor. A pair of wings covering the sky and the sun emerged from behind, and 2 long knives emerged. Uchiha Madara bent forward, with presumptuous and aggressive eyes, overlooking Sengoku who got up from the ground. Then, bring some joy to my boring life, Sengoku. Click. Putting the palm on the handle, the blue flame long knife was slowly drawn out. A vast power as great as a god erupted from Uchiha Madara's tiny body. Rumble. A Setsuna with the long knife completely drawn out, the sky and the earth were painted with light, eclipsed, and a sword aura that spread for a kilometer swept towards Sengoku. Don't just die like that. Sengoku's pupils shrunk slightly as the huge sword aura was reflected in his eyes. He smelled the smell of death from this sword. It felt like a bound lamb in a slaughterhouse greeted the butcher's knife. The butcher's knife was stained with the blood of countless of his kind. Just when he thought he was going to die, there seemed to be a string in my mind that was completely snapped. A powerful force emerges from the body. A burst of intense light erupted from within Sengoku's body. 7. Chapter 78 1 against 2. Invincible potential. Dazzling golden light fills the air. 3 faces emerge from the 3 sides of the huge golden Buddha. Then 6 arms emerged from the underarms, with 4 heads and 8 arms, and each face showed a different expression. Joy, anger, sadness, joy. Each of the 8 arms holds a Buddha treasure, Falun, pestle, umbrella, vase. A round of Buddha light emerged from behind Sengoku, illuminating the Sabayati archipelago. Buddha light shines. The huge sword energy melted little by little in the light. Devil fruit awakening. Uchiha Madara looked at the golden Buddha light around him, which seemed to contain a powerful spiritual force. It silently affects everything around it. Large-scale illusion. With a strong and confusing light, it invaded his mind and seemed to want to distort his will and spirit. Although I almost died, it is thanks to you that I was able to push me to this point. Your existence is a threat to the world government. It is too dangerous to kill celestial dragons. Today, no matter what, I will completely kill you. Arrest. Sengoku got up from the ground with indescribable confidence on his face. He has awakened his fruit ability, and his strength has reached the peak of the admiral level. Today, he will not be weaker than anyone. Big Bergamot. Sengoku, the 520 Buddha who appeared in front of Uchiha Madara in an instant, was shot with one palm. Layer upon layer of shock waves surged forward like turbulent waves. Uchiha Madara was about to avoid it, but suddenly felt a foreign object approaching from the left and right rear. A sense of crisis welled up in my heart. Not one direction, but 4 directions attacking at the same time. A shock wave from Setsuna in all directions seemed to submerge Uchiha Madara. Boom. The body bends forward. The shock wave hitting Susanoo penetrated bit by bit. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched slightly, and the shock waves that hit him from the front surged from all directions, but it was actually his back that was injured. Even the perception of observation Hawkeye can interfere with the illusion, and the direction and power of the shock wave can be manipulated by superimposing the shock wave. Is this the ability of Devil Fruit after awakening? Finally presentable, Sengoku. The black hooked jade slowly turned into purple Madara patterns, fleeting in a flash. God Luo Tianzheng. The shock wave that invaded Susanoo's body was pushed out by the sudden strong repulsive force before it touched Uchiha Madara's body. Also pushed out was Sengoku, who wanted to take advantage of the victory. But playing illusion in front of me, are you worthy? A contemptuous arrogance flashed in his eyes. What the Uchiha family is best at is fire style and illusion is the best in this aspect. The connected Mangekyo Sharingan spun rapidly, emitting pure pupil power. The Buddha's light on Sengoku's body paused, as if he had been hit hard. The diffuse Buddha's light disappeared instantly, and even the golden body became dim. A stream of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. The fruit ability was countered and invaded by Uchiha Madara's pupil technique. He was hit hard mentally. For the sake of pleasing me, let's show some real strength to play with you. Isn't it his true strength now? A thought flashed through Sengoku's mind. The first reaction was to not believe that this kind of combat power that had almost reached the Admiral ultimate level, if not his full strength. Then how terrifying his true strength should be. I'm afraid it will be the next Poros. Just as this thought rose from his mind, a huge shadow suddenly appeared on the ground. What is that? The pupils contracted, and suddenly looked at the ancient sky. A black spot keeps enlarging in the eye, and it is getting bigger and bigger. A meteorite is constantly enlarging, and the size of the meteorite is shocking. Fake. Fake it. Sengoku, pupils constricted, couldn't help shouting that the scene was G bizarre in every way. Uchiha Madara, with her arms folded, has a sarcastic smile on her lips. When you see something you don't understand, it's human nature to question its possibility first, but there are so many things you can't understand in this world. What are you going to do with this meteorite that could destroy an entire island? Sengoku. Escape. Still buried here with this island. A huge meteorite burning with scorching flames fell from the sky. Everyone on the entire island fell into screams of panic and despair. This is like a scene of annihilation, and no one can take it lightly. Hateful. Sengoku roared. There are not only pirates on this island, but also a large number of civilians and his marines. More important is the specificity of the Sabayati archipelago. In any case, this exaggerated and scary meteorite cannot be allowed to fall. Otherwise, the entire Sabayati archipelago will be gone, and hundreds of thousands of people will die. He cannot bear this consequence, nor can the world government. Sengoku soaring into the sky, holding up the falling meteorite. Shooting with both hands continuously, the continuous shock wave greeted the huge meteorite that covered the sky and the sun. Rumble. In the deafening roar, debris from the avalanche fell to every corner of the island. But the stone that fell from the meteorite did not make any cuts under his obstruction. Sabayati archipelago, it's over. This idea flashed in my mind, and a familiar voice suddenly sounded in my ear. Sengoku, you are in such a mess right now. Tekken, meteor. Boom. Hockey's fist, filled with pitch black, hit the falling meteorite. The momentum of the falling meteorite slowed down instantly. Garp, why are you here? Sengoku looked at Garp in shock. Isn't this guy chasing Luogia in New World? The old man called me over, saying that he was going to discuss some important meeting in a while. Garp looked serious, holding the meteorite in his hands. How did this thing come about? Although it is said that Devil Fruit's ability users are all kinds of strange, but things of this level are 2F***** G outrageous. Small at first, if this thing falls, the whole Sabayati land will be finished. The two strong men at the peak of Admiral used all their strength together to smash this huge meteorite. What's your situation now? Looking at Sengoku's strange appearance, Garp scratched his head a little. Is the ability of Devil Fruit awakened? Isn't this too handsome? I don't know why, but I feel a little envious in my heart. Just as Sengoku was about to say something, the sky was suddenly enveloped in darkness again. Again, 4 waves of meteorites were shattered, and the meteorite rain in the sky finally passed away. It's finally over. The somewhat panting Garp was panting heavily. Breaking a meteorite of this magnitude was no small burden for him. Did the guy down there make this thing? Garp looked at the giant blue giant with his hands folded on the ground, leisurely as if he was watching a play, and his expression was a little displeased. Uchiha Madara, a pirate with a bounty of 500 million. 5 billion. Garp's face showed a look of eating shit. With this level of power, a reward of 500 million. 10 times more or less. If this guy doesn't have Admiral's peak combat power, he will let his future grandson go to sea as a pirate. This guy is no less dangerous than Poros. If left unchecked, he will be another Dark Emperor. Then arrest him. Sengoku and Garp charged towards the giant blue giant. Playing 2 against 1, the two of them have no psychological burden. Pirates and Marines are naturally opposing camps. Talk about a fair and just mind. The best way to deal with these vicious pirates is to catch them at all costs. The way to catch pirates is a good way. Whether he is fair or not. A1 to 2. It seems a bit unfair. Uchiha Madara with her arms folded, slowly scattered Susanoo from her body and fell to the ground. It takes too much energy to maintain Susanoo. And fighting with these two guys, the existence of Susanoo will only affect his combat effectiveness. Are you ready to grab it without a fight? Sengoku frowned. A thought flashed in his mind. Without this annoying armor, is this guy going to fight them with his physical skills? Boom. Just as he was thinking, a sharp pain suddenly came from his chest. Sengoku's figure flew backwards. Sengoku. Garp on the side was stunned, and just about to say something, observation Hawkeye was suddenly touched. A picture of himself being hit to the left by a fist flashed in front of his eyes. Boom. Oh, you can actually detect my round tomb side prison. Look at Garp, covering his right side with his hands, as if fighting an invisible person. Uchiha Madara's eyes were amazed. The round tomb prison can create a shadow that does not belong to this world. It stands to reason that this shadow should not be noticed. This world doesn't have the power of 6 paths. The corner of the mouth was split, and Uchiha Madara's eyes 2.0 had a hint of teasing. Then how many more? Garp, who was fighting against the invisible shadow, felt a sense of ultimate crisis in his heart. 3. No. Is 4. Invisible attacks came from 4 directions. In this case, he has no chance to dodge at all. Armed color. 6 forms. Iron body. The dark to deep armament Haki permeated the whole body, and the jet black Haki was so thick that it floated away from the body. Ultimate's armament Haki is fused with iron body. Boom. The sound of metal clashing echoed from Garp, who received a wave of attacks. Garp, I'll help you. Wait a minute, Sangoku, don't come over. Garp's eyes widened. This kind of invisible attack was not something that Sangoku, whose observation Haki hadn't surpassed ultimate, could dodge at all. The top observation Haki does not feel this invisible presence at all. Boom. Sangoku just got close and flew upside down. A hideous scar was cut on his chest by an invisible long knife. The golden body was shattered and blood flowed out. Garp gasped. How to fight this? You can't even see the appearance of the enemy, you can only passively defend and evade. I can't see the slightest chance of winning at all. Chapter 79 Power of 6 Paths. Headquarters gathering. Big event. Amazing. In the corner, a pirate with Gaxi Island's latest video recorder in his hand looked excited. Admiral Sangoku of Naval Headquarters and Garp the Marine Hero Hordes were at a disadvantage in a 1-on-2 battle. Even beat the opponent to the point of being powerless to fight back. This scene simply refreshed his worldview. Poros. This is definitely a powerhouse more terrifying than Boros. Despair. Powerlessness. Sangoku, who resisted passively under the siege of the Round Tomb prison, completely lost the invincible mentality after awakening the fruit ability. He is almost beaten to the point of self-isolation now. Can't see how the enemy attacks you at all. I just felt a pain in my back and flew out. Like a human sandbag, he was beaten back and forth by 2 invisible figures. Garp is doing better. Although he can't take the initiative to attack, but he can predict the attack of the Round Tomb prison, at least he won't be as embarrassed as Sangoku. And his strength is indeed stronger than Sangoku. Even if they are all at the peak level of Admiral, there are still strengths and weaknesses. Although this gap may not be obvious, but the strength has reached their level. A slight difference in strength is an irreparable advantage. Suddenly, the shadows that were attacking them all disappeared. Both Garp and Sangoku were a little dazed. Is it time? Uchiha Madara raised his eyebrows. When using the Round Tomb prison, the duration of the shadow materialization is limited, and the shadow needs to be charged every time. But this duration was indeed beyond his expectation. Too short, only a few minutes. Sure enough, it should be the difference in the rule system that greatly shortens the duration of my abilities. Uchiha Madara shook his head helplessly. That ability of his is no longer available. Garp and Sangoku, who have rich combat experience, saw 07 in front of their eyes, and immediately made a judgment. Take advantage of his illness and kill him. Sangoku and Garp, covered in blood, stepped on the shaved feet in tacit understanding, and appeared in front of Uchiha Madara in an instant. On the left and right, the golden bergamot and the jet black armament Haki bombarded over at the same time. God Luo Tianzheng, Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank. The terrifying repulsive force pushed outward. The earth rolled, and even the ground was lifted up. With his body as the center, a ring-shaped air wave visible to the naked eye spreads around. Bump. Sengoku's blaster and Garp cover armament Haki's iron fist. Collide with the transparent enchantment. Click. There was a broken sound in the air. Veins burst out on Garp and Sengoku's foreheads, and they forcibly joined together to resist the terrifying thrust. Roll. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank, and in the next second, a surge of pupil power surged out. The stalemate was instantly broken. Garp and Sengoku flew upside down, tumbling and collapsing dozens of houses before barely coming to a stop. This farce ends here. Uchiha Madara's eyes were cold. Quickly print with both hands. Summoning. 10 tails. What kind of monster is this? One-eyed. 10 tails. Tails shaped like fists and feet. The giant Manos Grande shadow with a body length of nearly 1,000 meters emerged from the sky, covering the sky and the sun. A huge figure, connected to Uchiha Madara's back. Although vague and fragile, the invisible power pervading made Sengoku and Garp tremble from the soul. It is as if the face-to-face created the great existence of the world. This monster is absolutely irresistible. The huge 10 tails phantom merged into Uchiha Madara's body bit by bit. A layer of pale light cocoon completely covered Uchiha Madara's body as 10 tails phantom merged. Snapped. The light cocoon shattered, crystal powder scattered like sakura flowers. The long jet black hair turned snow white at a speed visible to the naked eye, and everything on the body and face was shrouded in pure white. The pure white clothes are dotted with 6 red hook jade, and a black scepter that seems to devour the soul of a person emerges in his hand. Behind him, the black truth-seeking balls condense up and down. Only the projection of 10 tails was summoned. Uchiha Madara frowned. The different world rules made it impossible for him to manifest the existence of 10 tails. When he summoned 10 tails, he could feel the repulsive breath from this world. So his summoning was a success, but it was also a failure. The summoned projection has less than 1/10 of the power at best, and it is a consumable power. And things like Jugouyu Rinnegan can't be transformed. All in all, his current 6 paths mode is an infinitely reduced version of the incomplete state, and many abilities are almost impossible to use. But, it's enough to deal with you. Looking at Garp and Sangoku who were completely dumbfounded, Uchiha Madara raised her head slightly. The truth-seeking ball behind him turned into spikes and flew forward to shoot out layers. Puff! The fast truth-seeking ball disappeared like a teleportation, and when it reappeared, it was already in front of Sangoku. Sangoku, who had no time to react, immediately smelled the breath of death from this lackluster black spike. The hairs stood on end, and the scalp exploded instantly. Bump! Seeing that the black spikes were about to hit, Sangoku was suddenly kicked away by Garp beside him. The black spikes instantly pierced the wall next to it. The entire wall was instantly reduced to ashes. What a horrible thing. Garp squinted his eyes. As long as he was stabbed, everything would be turned into ashes, regardless of whether it was fruit awakening or elementalization. This kind of attack method feels outrageous to say it. If armament Haki is strong enough, it seems to be able to resist. A layer of hard armament Haki pervades his body. Garp came to Uchiha Madara in an instant. Iron Fist. Shatter the void. Uchiha Madara rolled his eyes, and the truth-seeking ball behind him turned into a black barrier. Garp's punch hit the barrier made by the truth-seeking ball without leaving even a trace. Sage Art. Lan Dun Guang Fang. A laser shot out from within the ablated black barrier. So fast. The laser grazed the corner of Garp's eye, leaving a charred scratch. Uchiha Madara frowned. The power of 6 paths was consumed too fast. According to this situation, he should be able to kill one of these 2 people. Then it will burn out. What a tough guy to deal with. Sangoku is okay. If it is just a one-on-one battle, he is sure to kill Sangoku within 1,000 rounds. But this guy named Garp, the prophetic observation Haki, is a real headache. Let him always have the feeling of punching the air. Enough playing. Let's call it a day. Since you can't kill this guy, it's pointless to continue pestering him. Uchiha Madara looked up at the sky, the corners of his mouth curled up. This battle is really enjoyable, so I will give you a meeting gift at the end. Surrounded by black truth-seeking balls, Uchiha Madara didn't even look at the 2 of them, and walked towards the pier as if there was no one there. Sangoku, who crawled out of the ruins, wanted to stop him. But he was grabbed by Garp next to him. Sangoku, leave him alone, he's in trouble. Garp looked at the sky, his eyes serious. Sangoku glanced up blankly, the corners of his eyes widening suddenly. A shadow emerged from the clouds, and the commanding sky instantly seemed to be covered with a layer of cloth, shrouded in darkness. A dozen huge meteorites burning with flames fell from the sky. The target is directed at the Subduing archipelago. On the coast, there are broken pirate ships. The ships docked on the pier were turned into piles of sawdust under the baptism of the marine warship's gunfire. Look at the pieces of wood floating in the sea. Uchiha Madara paused and glanced at the shore. Didn't see the familiar pirate ship. Wrecked. That, if you can, please board our boat. A hesitant voice came from behind. Uchiha Madara cast a glance out of the corner of his eye, and immediately recognized the pirate who had led him the way. Behind him were a few more cowering pirates. Please let us join your pirate party. The few pirates who witnessed Uchiha Madara fighting marine hero Garp and Admiral Sangoku together, and did not lose the wind, had a frenzied look in their eyes. I don't need such a thing as a companion. Uchiha Madara looked away. There is no such thing as a burdensome companion in his dictionary. Only the truly strong can be recognized by him. And these people in front of him seem to have nothing to do with the word strong. We don't want to be your companions, we just want to follow you. A few pirates who have been completely attracted by Uchiha Madara's personality charm said with courage. That kind of reckless temperament, arrogant and domineering power. For those pirates who walk on the sea and lick blood on their knives, is there an irresistible fatal attraction? In the world of pirates, the weak are preyed upon by the strong, and the powerful can be respected and admired by others. Countless people have embarked on the road of searching for dreams and freedom because of the legends of those legendary pirates. And for them, the current Uchiha Madara is a living legend. A king who will make them follow. Whatever. But if it gets in my way, I'll kill you. 577 Uchiha lowered his gaze. The strong will naturally attract the admiration and following of the weak. He doesn't dislike such witty weaklings. But if it hinders him, he will not show mercy. The pirates who got the answer looked excited. Then please come aboard our ship, Captain. Subduing Archipelago, the pirate Uchiha Madara with a bounty of 500 million killed celestial dragons. Go head-to-head against Marine Buster Call, one-on-one with Admiral of Headquarters Sangoku and Marine Hero Garp. The fight lasted less than 2 hours. End with Uchiha Madara's dashing departure. After the pirates who survived the battle by chance spread the record of that battle. The world is boiling. Bump. Why is the video of the battle going out? Naval Headquarters Marineford, Yuanwan office. Marshal Kong slapped the seat angrily, and after a while, he leaned weakly on the chair, rubbing the space between his brows. Eyes flicked between Sangoku, who was covered in bandages, and Garp, who was unscathed. Celestial dragons are dead. Naval Headquarters, Buster Call is back again. More than 70 areas of Subduing Archipelago have suffered heavy losses, and even the Headquarters Admiral has been seriously injured, but we don't even know who this Uchiha Madara jumped out of. None of them know. Thinking of Five Elders' bloody scolding, Marshal Kong felt like his brain was going to explode. Is that man really so strong? The two of you together are no match. Two peak admiral level combat powers will be defeated in the hands of one person. No matter how you think about it, it feels like a joke. If an admiral peak faces him, he will definitely die. Garp ate a donut, his tone more dignified than ever. Trouble, a Black Emperor and Poros have not been resolved yet, and another lawless Uchiha Madara has emerged. I always feel that since the establishment of the world government, he has encountered all the setbacks. Ever since Locks, the sea has never been quiet. Give more rewards. The marshal slumped back on the chair helplessly. As for the amount of the reward, it is tentatively set at 6 billion. To order the Admiral Black Owl together with the Marines above the Vice Admiral rank, I have something to announce. I originally thought it would be implemented after a while, but now it seems that it can only be carried out earlier. 11. 0 Chapter 87 Warlords of the Sea Meeting. Godslayer, Uchiha Madara, the reward amount, 6 billion Baileys. Is the sea going to break up again? The big pirate with a bounty of 6 billion Baileys is 500 million more than Poros. When the reward orders of Boros and the Black Emperor came out, the whole sea boiled. Poros is judged by Uchiha Madara who is strong and who is weak. The highest power that Poros can erupt is related to the power of death stored in his body. If enough power of death is stored, Poros can even destroy the world government by himself. But conversely, if Uchiha Madara's 6 paths is powerful enough, the destructive power will not be weaker than Poros. Throwing away the newspaper in his hand, Zhang Yang glanced at the videotape on the desktop. Challenge the Buster Call and directly become famous all over the world. Uchiha Madara made a good move. The world of pirates is represented by rewards and strength. The higher your reward order, the stronger your strength, the more you can attract others to follow you. The weak eat the strong, and the strong respect. The eternal law of the jungle in nature is especially prevalent in the world of pirates. Even if Uchiha Madara doesn't take the initiative to attract the crowd, his existence itself is like a flower, attracting countless waves and butterflies to follow. This is the charm of the strong. Naval headquarters summoned all the powerhouses above the vice admiral level. Kong Ji-yu also started to panic. Zhang Yang picked up the cloak on the chair and summoned the fleet. The fleet proceeded to naval headquarters, Marineford. Hey Xiao boy, you are really late. Garp mumbled while eating a donut. What does it matter? Anyway, there are people who came later than me, Pelusolino. Looking across the crowd, Zhang Yang saw Sakazuki who was gathering with several vice admirals, and Raquel who was gathering with others. There are quite a few people gathered around him, and they seem to be doing well. There is even a situation where he can compete with Sakazuki separately. Noticing Zhang Yang's gaze, Raquel glanced at him from the corner of his eye. He nodded imperceptibly, and it was not easy to show too much enthusiasm in front of so many people. Zhang Yang sees everyone in his eyes. There are not many Marines with a military rank above Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, so he has more or less contact with them. Except for a few people with special missions who have not yet arrived, almost all of them have been summoned. But there is no trace of Pelusolino in it. Zhang Yang paused slightly. It stands to reason that Pelusolino's speed should not be so slow. The Marine base he guards is in the middle half of the Grand Line, not too far from the headquarters of Marineford. Could something have happened? As if seeing the doubt in Zhang Yang's heart, Garp tucked his nose. Pelusolino let the old man call out. Just as he was thinking, Pelusolino, who was following Marshal Kongu, walked in. Since everyone is almost here, then I have one thing to announce. Marshal Kong Ji-yu had just walked into the meeting room, and the noisy meeting room suddenly became quiet. Not everyone is a lawless guy like Zhang Yang and Garp, who simply ignores Marshal Kong Ji-yu. As the supreme commander of the Marine, Marshal Kongu's majesty has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. This matter is the result of my discussion with 5 elders when I went to the Holy Land Mariajoy before. Although it is the opinion of 5 elders, it is of great importance and I have not been able to make up my mind. Today everyone is here, let's vote with a show of hands. Quote. This matter, I call it, the 7 warlords of the sea system. Marshal Kong Ji-yu looked serious. Nowadays, there are frequent chaos in the world, and the Grand Line and New World are invaded by pirates on a large scale. In order to maintain the order at sea, 5 elders decided to recruit a group of powerful pirates to fight against the pirates. And this system is the so-called 7 warlords of the sea. Boom. There was a muffled slap from the crowd. I object. These pirates are rebellious and unruly, they must not believe it. All pirates should be eliminated. This irritable and extreme way of speaking, Zhang Yang knows who it is without thinking about it. Looking in the direction of the sound, sure enough, Sakazuki sat there with an angry face. Letting pirates join the management of the world government is a silent compromise in his opinion. This is absolutely incomprehensible and unrecognizable to Sakazuki, who regards Marine's majesty more than life. I agree. Admiral Sangoku agrees. If it was the past, he would firmly oppose 7 warlords of the sea, a system that rationalizes pirates. But this time is different. After seeing the powerful power of Uchiha Madara, he questioned whether he can hold the world with the power of Marine alone. One Uchiha Madara is so powerful if the evil forces of the sea such as the Black Emperor, Whitebeard, etc. are fully united. Is the world government really an adversary? I abstain. Garp, who was munching on donuts, saw Marshal Kong's sharp eyes looking over him, and with a grunt, couldn't swallow what was in his mouth. Turn away from looking at him. He doesn't want to deal with this kind of thing. After all, He's just a mere vice admiral, it's better not to ask him for such a mind-boggling matter. I don't know anyway. Marshal Kong Jiu helplessly shook his head. He looked at Zhang Yang and the vice admiral crane beside him. I have no opinion. Zhang Yang wore a blindfold, put his hands behind his head, and lay on a chair with his eyes closed. What does 7 warlords of the sea not Shichibukai have to do with him? Except for the enemies at the level of 4 emperors, the others are no different from garbage in his eyes. Pirates cannot be allowed to participate in the management of maritime order, but they can use their combat power to fight against other pirates at critical times. Crane Vice Admiral thought about it carefully and agreed. In this case, the pressure on our marine should be reduced. A fishy smile appeared on Pelusolino's face, so he could take a rest. I object. Newcomer Vice Admiral Aokiji Kuzan objected. The voting was over, and the final result was that more than 60% of marine agreed. A few abstained and only a few objected. Then the next step is to consider candidates for 7 warlords of the sea. First, get rid of those dangerous elements that endanger the existence of the world government, the Black Emperor, Uchiha Madara, Whitebeard, Luia. Although the Shichibukai system has been established, the specific target of solicitation has yet to be discussed. First of all, the strength is not weak, and secondly, it cannot cause too much threat to the world government. The first to be ruled out are the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara, 2 forces that have killed celestial dragons. Hawkeye, are you leaving? Hawkeye, who walked out of the training ground, looked at Kasho who was leaning against the wall, and nodded slightly. I have almost mastered what I need to learn, and staying here any longer is just a waste of time. A look of regret appeared on Kashiu's face. I thought you would become one of us, didn't you think about staying? He is also the instructor who trains the Black Emperor Guard, and he and Hawkeye have a good relationship in private, at least they can be regarded as friends. On weekdays, they often exchange sword skills with each other. Seeing that he was about to leave suddenly, I felt a little bit sad in my heart. Life always needs some ideals. It is too far away for me to defeat that man. Before that, I will take the position of the world's #1 swordsman to verify my achievements. Hawkeye shook his head, looking at the sky. As for the future, let's talk about it. After staying in Joxi Island for such a long time, he has a lot of insights, and his strength has at least doubled compared to when he just came here. Although he has not yet fully comprehended the supreme state of that miraculous sword skill. But also a little sentimental. And leaving this time, he wanted to verify what he had learned and thought. Things like kendo cannot reach the peak simply by working behind closed doors. Only by fighting, summarizing and comprehending again and again can we create a kendo that suits us. When he defeated the swordsmen all over the world, it was time to challenge the Black Emperor. As for now, thinking of the moment when they were defeated the last time they met, Hawkeye felt that it's better not to be too ambitious. Won't you say goodbye to those kids? No, they are much stronger than you think, and I found some good teachers for them. Hawkeye's expression was slightly weird when he said this. The teacher you're talking about, couldn't be those monkeys. The corner of Kasho's mouth twitched, and he suddenly remembered the group of strange monkeys that Hawkeye asked him to transport over a few days ago. The corner of Hawkeye's mouth moved undetectably. Don't underestimate those guys, I used to. But I have suffered enough from these guys. Shaking his head, his face showed an expression of unbearable past memories. Hawkeye, who passed by, waved his hand at Kasho, Zhao Mahao, who was behind him. Then, let's meet again. A black brand was exposed from the corner of the blown clothes. Kasho shook his head and looked away from Hawkeye. He's really a guy who can't express his emotions. #BT. Good luck. At the same time, Naval Headquarters, first Shichibukai list has also appeared. Sand Gator Lockdoll, Tyrant Bartholomew Kuma, Hawkeye Mahawk. Zhang Yang looked at the list in his hand with a slightly strange expression. Is this the magic of fate? Except for the Empress Boa Hancock who has not yet grown up, and Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo who has become a subordinate of the Black Emperor. Most of the first Shichibukai lists were acquaintances he knew. Immersed in the development of power, not to mention K. Lockdoll who lives in Alabasta in a simple way, this guy Hawkeye has been working as an instructor on Gaxi Island for so long, and he hasn't come out for a long time. To be chosen by Marshal Kong Jiu unexpectedly, it has to be said that this is also an inevitable event in accident. There are very few pirates who can be regarded as powerful in the sea, and there are only dozens or hundreds of pirates that Marine can remember over and over again. On this basis, the precondition of not doing any major harm to the world government is added, and the strongest part is selected from this limited number of people. It seems that it is not incomprehensible that Hawkeye is on the list. Chapter 81. Law of Heaven and Earth. Dinghai shocked the world with one blow. The Great Swordsman, Kibula the Ghost Swordsman, and Mahawk the Eagle Eye will fight in New World. What's the result? One move. What a move. Hawkeye lost with one move, or Kibula lost with one move. Hawkeye. Sure enough, this kind of old-fashioned swordsman is stronger. A rising star like Hawkeye is no match even if he holds the supreme sword in his hand. Gudong. It wasn't Hawkeye who lost, it was Hawkeye who defeated Kibula with just one sword. How is this possible? The crowd was silenced. An incredible voice came from half a second away. I heard that his next goal is to challenge the Great Swordsman, Sword Demon. Hawkeye defeated the Great Swordsman Ghost Sword Kibula, and the uproar spread throughout the world. The world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye, has your journey begun yet? Hearing the whispering voices on the training ground, Zhang Yang rested his head on his hands with his eyes wide open. Watching him use Sword 23 once a day, with Hawkeye's talent, at least he has found a way. Medionwaity, Sword 23, with that level of sword power, even if he only grasped a trace of the essence. It is more than enough to deal with the strong ones of the Admiral level. Whether Hawkeye will become the world's #1 swordsman, there is no need to discuss this matter, because it is inevitable. What are you doing today? It feels like life has lost its pursuit and turned into a salted fish. Punch into work every day and have nothing else to do. If this continues, he will become the next Pelusolino. Thinking about something in my mind, my spirit suddenly fluctuated. Poros. What did he ask me for? Could it be that Vegapunk's experiments have yielded results? Gene soldiers or electronic computers, spy satellites. Thinking about it, Zhang Yang connected to Poros's consciousness. Boom. The hard wooden table broke suddenly, and the lazy expression on Zhang Yang's face disappeared. There was a cold luster in his eyes. Celestial dragons, dogs really can't change their nature of eating shit. The lowly untouchables dare to rob slaves from the descendants of the great creator. A bubble mask was hung on the face, and the musket in the hand of celestial dragons with a demented expression was emitting black smoke. A man in a black suit fell to the ground in disbelief. Bring me all these slaves of his. Master Antilles Saint, you should go back first. Several CP members responsible for protecting the safety of celestial dragons looked at the man lying in a pool of blood with numb scalps. The dark dragon badge is really iconic. This is the Black Emperor's man. Are you ordering the great Saint Antilles? Antilles looked at the CP member who persuaded him with disgust. Don't dare. The corner of the CP member's mouth twitched, and he quickly lowered his head. With a mournful face, the corners of his mouth were a little bitter. My lord, you have caused a big problem. That kid from the Antilles family, the one who killed the Black Emperor. It's really a group of restless juniors. It's a good thing that they didn't meet any powerful characters this time. Otherwise, with the character of the Black Emperor's lawless subordinates, it's not certain whether the Andreas family can come back. In the brightly lit hall, the 5 elders gathered together. Having been arrogant for so many years, it's not so easy to change your temper. 5 elders, holding a knife in his arms, narrowed his eyes slightly. Kill it, let that kid stay in Mariajoy honestly recently, don't go out wandering, how dare the Black Emperor go to the Holy Land just for one of his subordinates. As the base camp of the world government, the garrison of the Holy Land Mariajoy is not comparable to places like naval headquarters. Unless all the forces under the Black Emperor are mobilized, they may be able to break through the outer area of Mariajoy. As for the Holy Land Mariajoy among the most central flowers, it is the safest place in the world. Absolutely no one breaks. A few 5 elders casually mentioned something and changed the subject. No one took this matter to heart. How's things going with Shichibukai? AHFI Kongu has sent people to contact those pirates, but the collective situation is still unclear. 5 elders, with 2 long beards under his chin, folded his arms and said. Alabasta's clock doll has expressed his willingness to cooperate. But it seems to be on the sidelines for now. Quote. 5 elders, with a scar on the corner of his eye, was about to say something when his eyes suddenly shrank. Look outside the palace. The phantom of a gigantic ape towers above the sky, its hair is thick and long, its fangs are exposed, and its eyes are like holes of light piercing the darkness. Fatn Shangdi. The powerful roar resounded through the sky like an unrivaled demon, holy and demonic. Like an inflated balloon, the giant ape erupted with a majestic force. It grows against the wind, and in the blink of an eye it has already turned into 1,000 feet high. The surrounding air vibrated, and pitch black cracks appeared one after another, and the strong air force shattered the surrounding space. Standing in the void, the sharp void turbulence hit the armor of the giant ape, and the phantom of the giant ape was slightly dim. Crash! A series of chains descended from the sky to bind the phantom of the giant ape. There was a thunderbolt in the sky. Countless thunderbolts fell, hitting the phantom of the giant. The presumptuous and rebellious ape demon struggled desperately, but under the shackles of the chains, it became smaller and smaller little by little. There was a cold luster in his eyes, coldly looking down at the red line in the distance. A sky-reaching giant stick filled with gold and color emerged in his hand. The turbulent void, the undulating sea, everything in the world was silent for a moment, and all the sounds were smoothed out. Great cudgel, Dinghai needle, Optimus, at, the Dinghaitian needle like a mountain stretched infinitely, and was lifted high by the giant ape. This stick, shattered Ling Xiao. Broken. The whistling stick fell down like a toppled mountain. The sound of tearing air was like thunder roaring. The gilt iron rod was crimson, and a fiery flame was ignited. Stop. The roar resounds through the skies of the Holy Land Mariajoy. Slash. Fruit ability. Armament hockey. Countless attacks blasted at the huge iron rod that fell down, but they couldn't stop even a trace of momentum. Boom. Accompanied by a continuous roar. The red line that divides the seas and cannot be crossed. Collapsed. On the rolling red line, a passage connecting the 2 banks emerges. With one stick, the 1,000-meter-high red line was smashed into a sky-high avenue that was level with the sea. The sea water on both sides poured backwards for a long time. In the deepest part of the Holy Land of Mariajoy, among the flowers that few people care about, a shocking coercion erupted. But there is no trace of the unrivaled ape demon who stood upright and shattered the red line for countless years with one stick. The edge of the cliff that stretches as far as the eye can see is as transparent as a cliff. The 5 elders who came out of the palace stared blankly at the surging tide below. This stick split the huge Holy Land in half. A shrill howl came from all over the Holy Land of Mariajoy. Standing for nearly 1,000 years, it is an absolute holy place that has never been breached. The loss was huge overnight. Celestial dragons of nearly 20 clans were obliterated. Only the place where the slaves were kept, and the palace where the 5 elders lived, the treasury, the flower in the core of the holy place, and a few residential areas of the celestial dragons narrowly escaped the disaster. For thousands of years, Hao Ji, who has never been encountered before. 5 elders held a long knife in his arms and looked down at his feet. How should I explain to Master I am? 5 elders with short blonde hair closed his eyes slowly, made a creaking sound from his mouth, and sighed after half a sound. Notify Kong Ji Yu that the amount of reward offered by the Black Emperor will be raised to 20 billion. Anyone who can kill the senior cadres of the Black Emperor's forces, regardless of their status. No matter what they have done, they can go to the world government's highest treasure, Curry, to pick a treasure. Quote. Blood dripped down the palm. Guaranteed in the honor of world government. Other than the Black Emperor, he couldn't find anyone who could do such a thing at this time and this place. Let the leader of the CP organization go and see if that trash from the Antilles family is still alive. This matter cannot be carried on our backs. If it wasn't for Lord I Am, I couldn't leave. How could we indulge this villain so much? Looking at the sky-reaching avenue under their feet, 5 elders' eyes were full of heart palpitations. That devastating blow, even thinking about it now, has an incomparable sense of despair. Under that level of attack, who can survive? There were huge disturbances all over the world overnight. In the newspapers, creepy news is registered one after another. The holy place of Mariajoy was attacked, and more than half of the Qing people were killed or injured. The red line is split in half. King of the 5 seas, the Black Emperor's reward has increased to 20 billion. As long as you kill the senior cadres under the command of the Black Emperor, you can choose a treasure from the highest level treasure house of the world government at will. This pledge is made on behalf of the world government. And on the same day, because of the Black Emperor, the slaves of the Holy Land Mariajoy took the opportunity to riot. More than 90% of the slaves in the entire Holy Land fled, and only 20% were captured. But at this time, those high-ranking celestial dragons are not in the mood to manage the life and death of a group of slaves. The name of the Black Emperor resounded all over the world. Be synonymous with being the most untouchable person in the world. Since the establishment of the world government, the most dangerous man for thousands of years. The strongest in 1,000 years. The king of the 5 seas. The Black Emperor. At the same time, the Black Emperor himself was being discussed by people all over the world, and even worshipped as a god, completely deified. But lying on the bed unconsciously. Damn, if I had known that the side effects were so serious, I wouldn't pretend to be so forceful. A pale Zhang Yang lay on the bed. Although the previous illusion broke out, it shocked the world with power. But it also brought side effects that he couldn't bear. A stick broke the red line thousands of meters high. This shocking power has even surpassed the limit that devil fruit can erupt. It should not be said that it has exceeded the limit that this world can carry. The world has a limit, and when a person's strength exceeds this limit, he will be bound by the world. The chains that entangled him and the thunder and lightning that fell from the sky were the repulsion and anger from this world. Pretend to be cool for a while. The current Zhang Yang can be described as unprecedentedly weak. Punishment from the world, physical exertion, plus bottomless overdraft potential. Now his strength has dropped to 1,000th of the normal period. Even Devil Fruit's ability has fallen into a low period due to overuse. Now even a pirate with a bounty of over 10 million can easily kill him. Preliminary judgment shows that this period of weakness will last at least 3 months. In other words, he needs to take it easy when doing anything in these 3 months. Unless you take the other avatars back on your own initiative. But that would affect his original plan, and Zhang Yang would not do such a thing unless it was absolutely necessary. As for the wanted man from the world government, he didn't take it to heart at all. Among the senior cadres under the command of the Black Emperor, which one is not quasi-admiral level combat power? If you want to hunt them down, you need to have this ability if you have this idea. World government's highest treasure Curry's treasure is certainly attractive. However, even if it really has this ability, aren't you afraid of getting flowers for your life? As Zhang Yang, the biggest thorn in the world, was weak, the originally turbulent sea became quiet for an instant. No one wants to be the target of world government and marine in this special period. The current world government has long held back its anger, and wanted to vent it, but it didn't dare to approach the Black Emperor, a creditor whose wrist was thicker than his thigh. Therefore, whoever jumps out is a ready-made target. Continuing peace until, I feel that the pace is too slow, so let me hurry up. Chapter 82 Luia is king. Join the Fishmen Island. Luia has reached the end of the new world. Raftel. One Piece Luia, I don't know when this name began to spread. When this fact was presented in front of everyone, and when it was confirmed, they were stunned, surprised, and unbelievable. Raftel, a place that only exists in legends. It was actually found by Luia. One Piece Luia. Compared with the boiling sea, the marine and world government are calm and weird. Luia found Raftel. There may be hidden secrets that were once hidden. Notify Marine to arrest Luia. Lord Yim, now is not the time to issue a judgment. The influence of Luia becoming One Piece is lower than imagined. Just finding Raftel, this achievement is compared to the Dark Emperor who smashed the Red Line, wiped out nearly half of the celestial dragons, and made the world government have to swallow his anger. It's really not worth mentioning. Lord Poros, the slave auction house in Sabayati Archipelago has sent something. It's an apology for the Black Emperor's death in the auction house. Under the throne, the Black Ghost kneeling on one knee said respectfully. What is it? Poros, who propped his chin with one hand, said indifferently. With the current influence and status of Joshi Island, things sent by a mere auction house are really not to be taken seriously. The auction house for the Sabayati Archipelago will send something. Poros wasn't surprised. Anyway, the Dark Emperor's people died in the auction house. As the person in charge, the slave auction house of the Sabayati Archipelago is obliged to make a statement. Even if there was no such thing as the Black Emperor breaking the Red Line, the slave auction house would have to pay a considerable price to appease the Black Emperor's anger just because of the Black Emperor's reputation. After all, not everyone is a celestial dragons. Don't you dare to take the Grand Line of King's Landing, the Black Emperor who decides the life and death of a sea area, into your eyes. Even the celestial dragons are now paying a price that cannot be lowered. Nearly 20 clans of celestial dragons suffered heavy casualties. There were even 5 clans of celestial dragons that were all exterminated directly. This is a pain that has never been seen in the world government for thousands of years. Paramesha, sweet fruit. The N******** R said respectfully. Devil fruit from Paramesha. The aura of Poros, who was sitting on a high position, changed drastically in an instant. The N******* R's pupils shrank and his head lowered even lower. It is the grown-up who has arrived. Sweet fruit, is it a coincidence? Zhang Yang rubbed his chin lightly, and he was able to send out sweet fruits. The slave auction house should have cut a lot of meat. Send this evil fruit to Boa Hancock. Although recently, K-Lock is being asked to collect Paramesha's devil fruit to complete the ritual of awakening beyond ability. However, for a more powerful Paramesha devil fruit like sweet fruit, it was a bit of a waste to use it to awaken his devil fruit. As for why it was given to Boa Hancock, is the Empress without sweet fruit still the future Empress? Hawkeye Mahawk, Lock Doll, Tyrant Bear. After a long period of preparation, the 7 warlords of the sea system customized by the world government has finally started and officially implemented. Under the suggestion of Zhang Yang, the original intelligence force was developed in Alabasta, and the mobile phone Devil Fruit was looking for the whereabouts of the Pluton battleship Lock Dar by the way. As well as undefeated in New World, Mahawk has vaguely aspired to the highest throne of the pinnacle of swordsmanship. With half push and half effort, he became a franchisee of 7 warlords of the sea. Dorag, Tyrant Bear should belong to you. Drago's ferocious face appeared on the pitch-black phone bug. Yes, but how do you know? Drago asked with some doubts. The Tyrant Shang was discovered by him when he was developing revolutionary forces in the 4 seas. As the former king of the kingdom, he went to sea as a pirate because he hated the world and the government's rule. To Zhang Yang knowing that Tyrant Bear is his man, Drago is still a little surprised. You don't need to know about this. The right amount of mystery can add to the awe of others. How is the development of the Revolutionary Army recently? With the help of Flamingo and K-Lock Doll, the development momentum is good, and it has escaped many arrests by the world government. The early development of the Revolutionary Army is destined to be difficult. Under the pursuit of the huge power of the world government, the difficulty of fully developing the power is simply hell. If it wasn't for the assistance of the forces under the command of the Black Emperor, today's Revolutionary Army would have been on the verge of being destroyed again and again. The wild dogs from the CP intelligence organization were much more difficult than he imagined. Although these people's combat power is average, they can judge his destination from a little clue. However, after the initial difficulties, the development momentum of the Revolutionary Army is far better than imagined. There are too many people all over the world who are oppressed by the world government and dare not resist. If there is no choice, then everyone can only swallow their anger. But the emergence of the Revolutionary Army gave them a second, alternative path. Some people like to live on their knees, but it is undeniable that most people have their own pride and stubbornness deep in their hearts. They just don't have a choice. And the appearance of the Revolutionary Army seems to be the light that guides the way forward in their lives. For the Black Emperor, Dorag has complicated feelings. On the one hand, they do not agree with the legality of the illegal forces on Gaxi Island, especially the slave trade. But on the other hand, they also agree with the order of Gaxi Island. Generally speaking, the favorability outweighs the dislike. After all, the power of the Black Emperor is only as a middleman to earn money, rather than directly operating those illegal businesses. If illegal transactions cannot be avoided, it is also a way to turn them into things that can be controlled and prevent further deterioration. Dorag, who has seen too much darkness, has questioned his belief that everyone is equal. The only constant is the concept of overthrowing the tyranny of the world government and the rule of the celestial dragons. The existence of celestial dragons and world government is the evil side for this world. This concept will not change in any case. This is also the basis for the existence of the Revolutionary Army. As for the relationship between Zhang Yang and the Black Emperor, Drago prefers that the two are close cooperative friends rather than subordinates. This can be seen from Zhang Yang's casual tone when he mentioned the Black Emperor. People who really belong to the Black-Yellow Emperor, even a rebellious man like Doflamingo. It was also difficult to hide the awe in his eyes when he mentioned the Black Emperor. As for the Black Emperor as Admiral Black Owl, he never had this idea. At the same time, a ship slowly sailed into the Black Emperor's sea area. On the bow, a man with scarlet skin and a turban on his head crossed his arms. 0. Seeking flowers. Look up at the islands floating in the sky. Gaxi Island, finally arrived. The most central area of Gaxi Island is a group of connected buildings, also known as the Black Emperor Palace. As the core area of Gaxi Island, a lot of effort was put into it when it was established. Magnificent and majestic complex structure. Stretching for several kilometers, there are hundreds of tall camp halls. As the tallest building on Gaxi Island. Standing here, you can overlook the core area of the entire Gaxi Island, where the Black Emperor and various senior cadres live. Behind the Black Palace is a concentrated training camp responsible for training guards and spies. Inside the side hall of the Black Palace, holding tables one after another and counting the black ghosts who worked on Gaxi Island this month, the phone bug in hand suddenly rang. Hey, yes, well, I see. After hanging up the phone in his hand, the black ghost had a slightly surprised expression on his face. The adventurer Tiger, on behalf of the Fishmen Island, came to form an alliance with the Black Emperor. Why did the Fishmen Island suddenly form an alliance with the Black Emperor? Aren't these guys very hostile to humans? What's going on now? Modified. Although I was a little dazed, it was a good idea to say the least. It's better than knocking on the door to force others to surrender. Zhang Yang's original idea was that if the Fishmen Island didn't surrender, then he held a knife around his neck and forced the Fishmen Island to kneel down. Unexpectedly, this time, the Fishmen Island was the first to give in. I'm here this time to represent the Fishmen Island's alliance with the Black-Yellow Emperor. The Murloc tiger with red skin and a firm expression sat cross-legged on the ground. On the high platform, Zhang Yang, whose consciousness occupied Poros's body, propped his chin with one hand. Why did the Fishman Island suddenly change its mind? Was it frightened by him? There may also be reasons for this aspect, but it doesn't seem to be all because of this. Just a few days ago, I was a slave to the celestial dragons. Murloc tiger looked solemn. The Black Emperor saved me, and also saved countless of my compatriots. The Murlocs must repay their kindness. This kind of kindness will never be forgotten, so from now on, the Black Emperor will be our closest friend of the Fishman Island. Zhang Yang raised his eyebrows. Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected surprise. Although it may be abrupt, I don't know if I can meet the Black Emperor and express my thanks in person. Murloc Tiger made a request. My lord is not here now, but I will pass on your thanks. As that's so, Tiger's expression seemed a little lost. This straightforward man is unexpectedly upright in his heart. After seeing off Murloc Tiger, Zhang Yang was in a good mood. Although the joining of the Fishman Island is not a complete surrender, if he goes to war with the world government. Needless to say, the Fishman Island will definitely play a key role. A group of Murlocs with 10 times the physical fitness of ordinary humans even entered the battlefield without any training. It's also enough to make the world government scramble. And what he has to do next is to subtly assimilate the residents of the Fishman Island little by little, through cultural input, resource control, and economic penetration. After a few generations, the Fishman Island will forget who they once were. At that time, they will only have one identity. Subject B of the Black Emperor. Chapter 83 Teso. Plot Impel Down. Doflamingo's golden fruit has been stolen. An unobtrusive matter, Zhang Yang didn't even take it to heart. Although the golden fruit is precious, not everyone who eats it can develop the fruit's ability to the limit. If you can't awaken him, even if you eat it, it's just a waste. But what happened immediately after that made Zhang Yang a little puzzled. The training camp on Gaxi Island is attacked by strangers. And the ability to attack is the owner of the golden fruit. This is the first time he has seen such a thing that is no different from courting death. Fortunately, there is no actual loss. The guy who attacked the training camp sneakily approached the training camp, and before he could make a move, he was almost killed by Bullet, who happened to pass by there. When the thin and frail young man was brought to him by Bullet, Zhang Yang's eyes narrowed slightly. What's your name? Gilder Teso. Kicked on the knee by Bullet, Teso, who knelt directly on the ground, raised his head unyieldingly and looked at Zhang Yang angrily. Stealing Doflamingo's golden fruit and attacking the training camp, do you want to die that much? Zhang Yang looked at Teso with great interest. Fate is a funny thing sometimes. The golden fruit was turned upside down and returned to Doflamingo's hands after countless people's, 263, hands. In different places at different times, they were stolen and taken by the same person. If it weren't for him, then the future Golden Emperor in front of him would regard money as everything in his life after losing his girlfriend. Steal the golden fruit of Doflamingo, create the largest entertainment city on the sea, own 20% of the world's wealth, buy everything with gold, even secretly influence and manipulate the world government, and let celestial dragons do things for him. Establish a sanctuary that even the world government cannot interfere with. Being poor in the early stage and getting rich in the later stage is almost a legendary portrayal of a winner in life. Then at the end of his life, he was forced by a cheater, and his brain was hammered out. Why attack the training camp? Assault on Joshi Island for no reason, as long as he is not mentally ill, can a normal person do such a thing? Especially a smart guy like Teso. Zhang Yang squinted his eyes. Although he didn't know the reason, it didn't matter. If this guy can't give him a reasonable explanation, let him turn into a devil fruit. His strength is not fully restored yet, but simple things like teleporting to Gaxi Island and peeling devil fruit from a dead person are still no problem. You stole my love. Teso looked at Zhang Yang with an unusually hostile gaze. I just wanted to get her out. Stole your lover. Zhang Yang frowned tightly. His first reaction was disbelief. Gaxi Island would only buy slaves from slave shops, but he never said that he took the initiative to participate in the slave trade. Bought slaves and robbed slaves are not the same thing at all. But looking at Tesolo's expression, it didn't seem like he was lying either. Let the N**********************************************************************************************************8 Anger was suppressed in the cold voice. The black ghost with a terrified expression ran over nervously after a while. My lord, what are your orders? I heard that Gaxi Island has its own slave hunting group. Zhang Yang looked at the N********************R coldly, and in an instant, the N****************************R's back was already wet with cold sweat. No. The expression on the N*************************'s face was a bit wrong. How dare he set up a slave hunting group without permission? You said your lover was caught in a training camp. The palace is filled with a depressing atmosphere, like the eve of a storm. Zhang Yang looked down at Tesolo expressionlessly. The golden one-eyed brought him strong pressure. It wasn't caught, it was bought, but I had already paid the deposit, but the slave trader sold her to you. Zhang Yang's expression froze for a moment when Tesolo said angrily. Is there such a thing? Zhang Yang glanced at the black ghost. We did acquire a group of slaves aged between 16 and 24 a few days ago. As for whether these slaves have been sold, we don't know. He Guiwu shook his head helplessly. Since the last time Zhang Yang talked about expanding the scope of slave purchases, the original limit for purchasing slaves in Gaxi Island has changed from 12 years old to 25 years old. But they bought slaves and traded them with slave merchants. Has it ever been sold? No one knows. Who buys slaves and cares? As soon as the N********* said this, Zhang Yang knew that the matter was probably close. Although Gaxi Island pays attention to fair transactions. But some people resold the sold slaves to the Black Emperor in order to curry favor with him. Moreover, the price of slaves sold to the Black Emperor will generally increase by about 20%. As long as you are not a fool, you will not refuse this attractive price. What did slave traders trade slaves for? Of course it is money. If you can earn 20% more, why not? Violation of the deal, the big deal is to pay some liquidated damages. As long as it's not black and white, it's not a big problem. It is impossible to say who is right and who is wrong in this matter. After all, neither party is a direct transaction. If you have to say whose fault it is, you can only blame the slave trader. But people suddenly don't want to sell their products, that's their freedom. Breach of contract. Although it sounds bad, but you didn't sign the contract, you just paid a deposit. If you really want to go back on your word, you really can't do anything about it. Do you really want to be with that woman? Right. Dare to attack Gaxi Island for a woman, this guy is really a talent. But this also shows from the side how much Tezuelo loves this woman. It seems a pity that a talent who has the potential to awaken the fruit ability is killed like this. Then serve me for 20 years. After 20 years, I will set you two free. If you don't want to, you can leave now. Zhang Yang thought for a while and said. 20 years. Tezuelo froze for a moment, then nodded decisively in agreement. If he could be with Stella, not to mention 20 years, even a lifetime, he would be willing. Zhang Yang waved his hand and told the N*********R to take him down. The slaves who were bought from outside became slaves of the Black Emperor in name. But in fact, life in the training camp is 1,000 times better than outside. If you want the horse to run, but don't feed the horse, how can there be such a good thing in the world? Although Zhang Yang is strict with his subordinates, he will never be stingy. Therefore, everything in the training camp has been top-notch since its establishment. From diet to various professional training. In addition to the general training camp, there is also an elite training camp specially selected for children with potential. The elite training camp is an advanced training base he established after imitating the marine training camp. There were only 500 people. Special training is given by strong admirals like Hawkeye, Kaido, and Bullet. Everyone is either a kendo genius or a fruit-capable person. He spends more than tens of billions on this training camp every month, and hundreds of billions a year. Even the world government cannot spend so much money and manpower on cultivating CP organizations. The purpose is to cultivate a group of high-end combat power. So far, it seems that the effect is not bad. My lord, the first batch of fruit ability users sent by K-Lock-Dar has arrived. At this time, Kaido, who came in from the door, lowered his head and said respectfully. Oh, so fast. Instruct K-Lock to capture demon fruit power, which is what Zhang Yang ordered a few months ago. On the steel he found on the Lock's pirate ship, he saw a way to make devil fruit surpass his awakening. The premise of this method is to collect 100 devil fruits of the same attribute. Although devil fruit is common, it is not easy to collect 100 paramesha devil fruit. Those powerful devil fruits seem a bit wasteful if used beyond awakening. So, except for the devil fruit that has been used on other people, and a few Logia and zone fruits. There are only about 50 paramesha devil fruit left by Zhang Yang. If you want to collect all the remaining 50, it is a bit difficult. Therefore, the best way is to kill those who have devil fruit abilities and strip devil fruit from their bodies. Today's batch is the first batch of demon fruit power sent by K-Lock. There are not many people, only a few, and half of them are Zone's demon fruit power. Also hunting for demon fruit power is Doflamingo. However, the progress so far is also not great. There is not much demon fruit power in the sea, and it takes too much painstaking effort and energy to capture them specially. So Zhang Yang is thinking about one thing now. To say that the place with the most devil fruit is definitely the treasure house of the world government. But to say that the place with the most demon fruit power is not marine, pirates, world government, or Galaxy Island. It is the place where pirates and world-class criminals have been held since the establishment of the world government. A large undersea prison that claims to be absolutely impossible to breach. 2.3 Impel Down. There are tens of thousands of criminals held in Impel Down. There are no ordinary people who can be imprisoned there, each of them can be regarded as heinous, or a world criminal who poses a serious threat to the world government. And the people in the 6th floor are the world's top powerhouses. Among them, there are some strong players comparable to Whitebeard and Luia in terms of strength. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. If he killed all the people there, let alone 50 Paramesha devil fruits. Even if it doubles again, it is estimated that it is not impossible. However, it is not an easy task to break through the 6th floor of Impel Down. Impel Down is guarded by at least 2 admiral-level powerhouses, and Shuchang's strength is even higher than that of the top admirals. If he was still in his prime, it would be easy to destroy Impel Down. It's a pity that he is already useless now, and it is impossible to recover in at least 2 months. Just let Madara go. Zhang Yang frowned and thought about it. At this time, it is not suitable for Poros to come forward. He just destroyed the holy land of Mariajoy. If Poros destroys Impel Down again, it's no wonder the world government doesn't start a war with the Dark Emperor. But Uchiha Madara's words don't matter. Isn't it natural for pirates to fight marine? Chapter 84 Impel Down Falls. A corner of New World. The two fleets are at war. It is said that the battle is actually like a brutal massacre. Uchiha Madara standing at the bow is carrying a round fan, and behind him is the endless pirate fleet. The fleet of hundreds of ships spread out in a straight line. Opposite him is the big pirate who crosses the sea, the pirate admiral with a bounty of more than 1.5 billion, Beerus. Uchiha Madara, are you really going to kill them all? Aren't you afraid that I will be killed and caught? Looking at the hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of pirates behind Uchiha Madara. Fear flashed in Beerus' eyes. Seizu said in a deep voice. He can be called the Admiral of Pirates. In addition to his strength, what is more important is the fighters under his command that are far superior to other pirate groups. One of the overlords of the New World, the Whitebeard Pirates headquarters fleet only has 1,600 people. Of course, in addition to this, there are dozens of large and small pirate groups under Whitebeard's banner, which add up to nearly 30,000 to 40,000 people. And his fleet, although not comparable to Whitebeard, has nearly 20,000 people. In New World, there are very few pirates with more fleets than him. However, looking at the hundreds of large and small ships behind Uchiha Madara, Beerus was a little flustered. With a quick glance, there are at least 30,000 to 40,000 pirates. A pirate group of this size, even Whitebeard can't compare. Fish dead and net broken. Holding a round fan in his hand, Uchiha Madara stepped on the fence with one foot, showing a reckless smile on his face. As the fish dead and the net broken. Or as the egg hitting the rock. You will know later. Then you are not afraid of fighting with me and losing a lot of money. Marine and Whitebeard took advantage of them. The corners of Beerus' eyes twitched, and he cursed in his heart. Is this guy an idiot with no brains? If you want to wipe out 20,000 of them, you need to pay at least 10,000. Doesn't he feel sorry for his subordinates at all? Lost heavily. Did you misunderstand something? With arms folded and eyes condescendingly looking down at Beerus, Uchiha Madara's expression gradually became arrogant. From the beginning to the end, I have no intention of fighting with you. Your enemy is only me, that's all. What is this guy talking about? Is he crazy? A thought flashed through Bruce's mind. Do you want to defeat tens of thousands of them with just one person? How could such a thing happen? Do you think you are the Black Emperor? Can smash the red line with one stick? As soon as the thought flashed through my mind, I saw Uchiha Madara in red plate armor jumping directly onto the water. The body rises and falls with the flow of the water waves, as if attached to the water. Uchiha Madara, who stepped on the water in the air, leaned over and rushed towards the fleet. The ships behind him, watching this scene quietly, seemed not surprised. This madman, he really wanted to fight against their entire Beerus pirate group with one enemy 10,000. Beerus gritted his teeth, his eyes were a little red. You guy, don't underestimate me. I'm Pirate Admiral Beerus. The figure running fast on the sea is like a battleship riding the wind and waves. Where it passed, the sea water parted towards the two sides, leaving a long trail. Let my blood warm up a little bit. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth were split open, and under the blood-red and coquettish eyes, 3 pitch-black gemstones joined together. Susano. Complete body. The giant burning with blue flames instantly condensed, from the initial bones, muscles, skin, and armor. The wings that cover the sky and the sun spread out, and 2 long knives emerged in his hands. One person. Thousands of troops. The giant of hundreds of meters waved the long blue flame knife and swept forward. The battlefield exploded. The broken planks of the ship floated on the sea one by one. Scattered corpses floated in the blood-stained sea. One by one, the pirates who survived by chance looked at the man in red plate armor standing on the sea like a demon god, holding the planks in their eyes in horror. 1 against 10,000. Kill their captain. This man is nothing short of a demon. The big pirate only has this level of power. Uchiha Madara hugged her shoulders, and with those awe and fanatical eyes, she jumped back to the boat. Clean the battlefield, the next target. With a slight pause in his footsteps, Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the fanatical followers behind him. Prison under the sea, Impel Down. Hope to meet some interesting guys this time. As for Whitebeard, Luia, Kaido. If it is only this level of strength. That was such a disappointment. Rule the new world. Oh, nothing difficult or meaningful. Push Impel Down. Big brother, Lu said it is a big undersea prison with iron walls. Looking at Uchiha Madara who walked into the cabin, the expressions of the pirates on the ship looked a little messy. Gudong sound. Several pirates swallowed their saliva and looked at each other. Could it be that their next goal is to break through Impel Down? The place that claims to have never been escaped. As long as it is a pirate, mentioning Impel Down, subconsciously will be a little shadowy. Shu Chong, the headquarters has just been notified that a batch of pirates will be sent over in the afternoon. Understood. Let Shiryu of the Rain greet you. A muffled sound came from the toilet. The jailer who came to report had an extremely weird expression. Since he came to Impel Down, the most common scene he saw on weekdays was Shu Chang squatting in the toilet alone. By the way, did that guy Shiryu indiscriminately kill the prisoners in Impel Down today? There was the sound of flushing the toilet in the toilet, and after a while, a man with horns on his head and wings behind his back, who looked like a devil, came out. The jailer's expression hesitated. No kills, but a few prisoners on the fourth floor were hacked and seriously injured. Although not dead, but almost dead. Such a harsh environment inside Impel Down, normal people can't bear it within a few days, let alone people who are seriously injured and on the verge of death. Unsurprisingly, those prisoners who were severely wounded would die within a few days. This guy, Magellan looked annoyed. He has mentioned to Shiryu countless times not to punish the prisoners in Impel Down wantonly. But this guy got worse every time, he was simply unscrupulous. Next time, he will be sent directly to the 6th floor for self-reflection. Just as this thought flashed through my mind, the phone on the desktop suddenly rang. Hey, Magellan picked up the special phone bug with the gas mask on. Director, a large number of pirate ships are approaching outside Impel Down. Pirate, what kind of pirate, dare to come to Impel Down to make trouble, did you pass by? No, it looks like it's moving towards Impel Down. Magellan frowned. About how many people are there? Preliminary estimates put the number at more than 30,000. Snapped. The phone in his hand fell to the ground, and Magellan's expression was as wonderful as opening a dying room. A pirate group of more than 30,000 people attacked Impel Down. Are these pirates crazy? Call all the jailers and prepare for the battle. Inform the headquarters that a large number of pirates are approaching Impel Down, and request to send combat support. Magellan took a deep breath and gave the order calmly. Although 30,000 people may seem like a lot, but with Impel Down's defensive power, at least it can last for a long time without being attacked. That's enough time for naval headquarters, support to arrive. As for the natural barrier of Impel Down and the threat of Calm Belt Sea Kings. This level of threat is okay against ordinary pirates. But against a terrifying pirate fleet of 30,000 people, the Gate of Justice and Calm Belt can't stop it at all. A fleet of 30,000 men don't know if it's Whitebeard or. If it's Whitebeard, it's bad. With the strength of Whitebeard and the strength of the Whitebeard pirates, if the support of naval headquarters is not timely enough. Impel Down, which claims to be absolutely indestructible, might really be broken today. Except for the guards, all the guards in Impel Down were summoned to prepare for battle outside Impel Down. While waiting anxiously, a shadow fell from the sky. What it is, looking at the black shadow slowly falling in the sky. Clang. The musket in the hand 270 fell to the ground. Some of the jailers had expressions of crying and laughter on their faces, their backs were wet with cold sweat, and their expressions gradually distorted. 4 huge meteorites fell from the sky, falling in flames. Are you kidding me? How can there be such a horrible thing? The crowd panicked and fled in all directions. Faced with this situation, how do you fight? Take your life to fight. The scene in front of him was simply F************ G outrageous. Damn, everyone retreated to the city. Magellan couldn't help but swear. On the hordes of pirate ships, Uchiha Madara with circles of lines in his pupils narrowed his eyes slightly. Tengai Shinsei, what can't be broken? What iron wall? Claiming to be absolutely indestructible Impel Down. We are all adults, so don't come to this fancy stuff. Whether it can be broken or not, you will know if you try it. The meteorite that fell from the sky fell around Impel Down. Under the onslaught of terror, the gates of justice, the jailers. Everything was swallowed by the pouring sea water. When the undulating sea subsides, the so-called unbreakable Impel Down is close at hand. Uchiha Madara stepped on the bow and jumped up. The pair of fleshy wings behind him fanned, and the blue flames condensed into a huge Tengu giant. The blood in the sea flowed backwards, wrapping around the giant like tattoos. The long knife filled with blue flames turned into a bright scarlet. Boiling. Restless. Vampire fruit activated. The blood in the body flows faster, driving the body to become red, and the blood chi spreads outward along the body, condensing into a mist. The violent power that cannot be opened is brewing in the body. Uchiha Madara raised the bloody long knife. The 100-foot-long blood blade slashed down a 1,000-meter-long slash. Boom. The Impel Down, which is said to be indestructible like a copper wall and iron wall, completely collapsed under this knife. The boiling pirates cheered wildly. Uchiha Madara led the swarm into Impel Down. Chapter 85 Wheel Tomb. Susanoo, Shenluo Tianzheng. Lawless people, you are absolutely not allowed to pass here. The tall, demonic Magellan stood in front of the crowd. There was a pungent smell of smoke and dust in the air. The pirates who rushed into the Impel Down smelled the pungent smell, and fell down one by one. There's poison in the air, hold your breath and get out of here. A pirate yelled in horror. Tread, tread. The dull and powerful footsteps sounded slowly. The frenzied crowd naturally spread out a gap enough for two people to pass through, and Uchiha Ban, carrying a round fan on his back, walked slowly. Director of Impel Down, Magellan, Paramesha poisonous fruit ability user. Uchiha Madara looked at Magellan idly. Do you want to stop me by yourself? Uchiha Madara the Godslayer, the villain who slew the celestial dragons. Magellan's complexion suddenly changed. As the director of Impel Down, a member of the top level of world government. He is no stranger to this terrifying existence who can fight Marine Hero Garp and Admiral Sangoku, two peak admiral level powerhouses, without falling behind. Marine Hero Garp's evaluation of him is: a single strong player at the peak of admiral will undoubtedly die against him. Magellan never doubted how accurate Garp's assessment was. You can say Garp, this person's character is a tough one. However, no one in the entire world government dared to say that the strength of Yaipu is not enough. In terms of combat effectiveness, Garp's strength is definitely at the top of the entire world government. You know it's me, why don't you get out of the way? Uchiha Madara walked forward slowly, without any fluctuation in the expression on his face. Even if it is death, you, an extremely evil person, will be intercepted here. Is Magellan afraid? Of course he is afraid of death. He is more panicked now than anyone else. But just put Uchiha Madara in. What does a pirate do when it enters Impel Down? He couldn't think of any other possibility than to unleash the villains in Impel Down. Those detained here are all vicious people. If these people are released, not only the world government, but even civilians around the world will be greatly harmed. He is the director of Impel Down. It is the duty to protect Impel Down from falling. Remarkably brave, Uchiha Madara's eyes showed a hint of subtle admiration. Knowing that he must die, he still had the courage to stand in front of him. This will is admirable. Then, I'll give you a decent death. Uchiha Madara's footsteps gradually accelerated, and circles of purple lines appeared in his eyes. Dragon. Magellan's pupils widened, and ultimate sense of crisis welled up in his heart. In an instant, he had already unleashed all his strength without holding back the slightest. Intuition told him that if he still tried at this time, he wouldn't even have a chance to resist. 3 viscous dragons, like snot, poured out from the aisle overwhelmingly. Where the poisonous dragon passed, everything on the ground and ceiling was corroded by severe toxicity. The venom with a stench makes people dizzy. Uchiha Madara's eyes are indifferent, like a ruthless god, looking at an ant with teeth and claws. Hands change quickly. Snapped. Fire style. Extinguish the fire. Blazing flames spewed from Uchiha Madara's mouth. The flames spread and the venom collided, making a sizzling sound, and the oncoming poisonous dragon evaporated in the high temperature. The turbulent air waves blew the ends of his hair, and his face was flushed red under the light of the flames. Boom. Magellan's pupils suddenly widened after spitting out the poisonous dragon, and he opened his mouth bitterly. The body seems to be bent up. 4 invisible attacks bombarded him from 4 directions. An invisible enemy. Magellan's eyes widened, recalling in his mind the information about Uchiha Madara in Naval Headquarters, top secret file. Invisible enemies cannot be attacked, and cannot be avoided unless they can attack. It's really a shameful ability. Poison cloud. The strong poisonous gas exploded from the body and spread to the surroundings. Boom. In the next second, the violent blow sent Magellan's body flying out of the hospital. Useless resistance. Unless the fruit ability is awakened, or armament hockey surpasses ultimate, all your abilities will be nullified to my shadow. Uchiha Madara walked forward unhurriedly. If Topside was so easy to crack, it wouldn't be Rinnegan. Magellan, who was lying on the ground covered in blood, was lifted by 2 invisible arms, opened his eyes with difficulty and glanced at Uchiha Madara who was coming. In this world, why are there such terrifying monsters? So, palm slightly raised, palm facing Magellan, Uchiha Madara's chin slightly raised. Please, die quietly. God Luo Tianzheng. Boom, 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 boom. Terrible repulsion will fly out from Magellan, a series of crashing several thick walls. Uchiha Madara walked towards the passage leading to the next level of prison with a blank face. It felt like killing an ant. For him, the top admiral level enemies really couldn't arouse even the slightest bit of fighting spirit. I wouldn't let a villain like you into Impel Down. A deep roar came from the ruins behind him. Uchiha Madara paused and looked behind with interest. Is it still alive? What a strong vitality. Magellan, who crawled out of the ruins, was filled with a thick purple smoke. The pervasive purple smoke turned black and red over time. As this feeling fruit ability awakened, the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched slightly. That's what makes it interesting. It's not easy to meet an interesting opponent, so let's play with you for a while. The boiling black-red smoke has no smell, but it makes people feel disgusted from the bottom of their hearts. It seems that the cells in the whole body are repelling. Just looking at it makes me want to vomit. Uchiha Madara frowned. This level of poison, even if he gets a little bit of it, he will not feel better. Giant of poison. Judgment of hell. A huge skeleton emerged from behind Magellan. The viscous liquid is like a ghost crawling out of hell, ferocious and terrifying. The huge skeleton waved its arms and swept around. Today, I will kill all the villains here, Magellan yelled in a low voice. Since you can't see those enemies, then destroy everything around. Anyway, none of the pirates here is innocent. Really, if you can do it. Uchiha Madara tilted her head, and the four shadows surrounding Magellan changed instantly. The body swells, blue flames emerge, bones, muscles, skin, armor, and wings. A Susanoo of hundreds of meters emerged at the same time. The 100-meter-long knife in his hand slashed at the poisonous skeleton behind Magellan. At the same time, 4 waves of ultimate oppressive force surged from all directions. Wheel Tomb. Susanoo. The shadow that was differentiated by him has the same ability as him. That is to say, Rinnegan uses all of them, including his blood inheritance boundary. Unleash Shinra Tenjin from 4 different directions, squeezing like a human. What will be the consequences? Uchiha Madara has always been curious about this question, but never had the chance to experiment. And this time Magellan offered him a great opportunity. Under the pressure of ultimate, the space and air became distorted, faintly seeming to crack. The 4 ring-shaped air walls pressed towards the middle, and Magellan's body at the junction of the 4 rings was constantly twisting under the huge squeezing force. The huge poisonous giant was crushed into a ball. Magellan struggled hard, but under the pressure, his body turned into powder little by little. Madara, the shot was too heavy. A faint voice sounded from behind Uchiha Madara. Zhang Yang, who was shrouded in a black mist, looked at Magellan, who was almost invisible to the naked eye under the repulsive force. The tone seemed a little helpless. Although the poisonous fruit has a bit more side effects, it can be regarded as a very powerful devil fruit. Without his side effects, the potential of this devil fruit would not be lower than that of the top Logia devil fruit. Now that it looks like this, I don't know if the fruit ability can be stripped out. A puff of black smoke enveloped his body, and his hands were like living art. The strange pulling force spread, and an invisible energy in the void gathered in the palm of the hand. A devil fruit with strange patterns appeared in his hand. Fortunately, the fruit ability has not dissipated. Put away the devil fruit and disperse the barrier blocking the outside. Zhang Yang glanced at Uchiha Madara. The next step is to search all 6 levels of prisons and gather all the demon fruit power. As for the rest, you Li Lihao can deal with them as you like. Either take them in or kill them. He didn't want to bring these annoying thorns to Joshi Island to tarnish the Black Emperor's reputation. However, there are also innocent people involved in Impel Down, or victims who were framed by the world government. But such people are in the minority after all. Most of them are the most vicious criminals. More than 99 out of 100 people are executioners with blood on their hands. The kind that deserves to die. He had no interest in freeing these villains, although it was nice to see the world government and marine scrambling. The world government is distracted and has no time to care about others, so the development of power in Kexi Island can be a little more free. But if all these people are released, it will have a considerable impact on the power of the Black Emperor. This group of old antiques who have been imprisoned for an unknown number of years will not have any awe of the Black Emperor. Overall, the pros and cons are not small. As for Subduing, he is not interested in it either. A truly strong person must have a firm will, and it's hard to say how effective the brainwashing is. As for those who can be easily brainwashed by him, it is estimated that their strength is not too strong, and he also looks down on them. Pick and choose, the rest can be brainwashed, and the strength is not weak, and the age is not too old. It is estimated that there are not many. There are so many people in Impel Down, does he have to try one by one? But if it's only the 6th floor, you can try it.